So good morning, everybody. My name is Zsuzsanna Kocsis-Cooper. I represent the Danube Strategy Priority Area Water Quality, and I have the privilege today to welcome you as participants to the Wastewater Utilization Options Workshop on Sewage Sludge Management and Energy Efficiency. And this is also a Green Week, a partner event, and we're very happy to be a partner of this Green Week events. Within the Danube Regional Program PAC4 project, we organized this meeting, and we had more than 100 registrations. So I hope that more and more people will join the meeting as it goes on. And this workshop is organized together with the International Commission for the Protection of the Danube River, the ICPDR. So Adam is here as the kind colleague. And also obtained assistance from Danube Strategy Point. Christina is here with us, and thank you, Christina. Also, she will share the slides, and so she's providing assistance to us. Probably you are aware, because I know many of the colleagues, that the Danube Strategy was set up in 2011 with 11 priority areas. And together with Slovakia, Hungary is the one who's coordinating the water quality priority area. And we're focusing on generally on river-based management plans, but several actions we have: hazardous and emerging substances, wastewater, water and agriculture, drinking water, migratory efficient climate change. And within our action topic, wastewater, we are dedicated also to focus on the sludge issues. And within this wastewater action was our aim to provide an overview of sludge legislation and policies, to have an update, and further to showcase country experiences with utility examples, both from EU and non-EU countries. So the reason why we're here today is basically to discuss the situation. We recognizing the significance of this issue of sludge, and EUSDR Priority Area 4 has been active in this field, and mandated a company, Tranecon, to elaborate a study on sewage sludge within the Danube region. That study was prepared in 2024. You will hear a presentation about this. But basically, we wanted to aim and showcase you country presentations. In the utility section, Adam will discuss further. We understood that some countries have specific sludge management and recovery strategies. Others manage sludge in line with their criteria set out in their water and sewage management strategies. And then there are very many different aspects of wastewater and sludge management within the Danube region, which we wanted to collect together and showcase and introduce to you. But before we would do that, we realized that we have to provide you an updated overview of the European legislation. And this is why we're very happy that Silvia Grajales from the European Commission is here with us to also assist us in providing an update on the current European policy and legislation in this field. The first session today will be, Christina was helping me to show the agenda. That, let's just see. This is the agenda, so you can see that in the first session, they will be the introductory part by myself and also by Adam Kovács from the ICPDR. And then we will have an overview from Silvia Grajales from the European Commission. And in the second part of the session, we will provide you European overviews. First by the Danube region, sewage sludge management in the Danube region by Attila Fürstand, about this referred study that they prepared for the Danube strategy. And then we will hear, there will be a little change. Maja Polovic-Dole will provide a managed sludge from non-EU country perspective from Bosnia-Herzegovina, and then Karel Kovács will provide an overview from an EU country perspective from the Hungarian situation. And then in the second part, after the break, we will have a break around 11:25, 11:50. And then afterwards, we will have utility experiences, and Adam will provide an overview of these countries, and we'll moderate the session. So today, thank you, Christina. So our aim today is basically we will have speakers from 8 countries, both from EU and also from non-EU countries. And we hope that all participants who join today will have lessons learned, basically from the country experiences and the utilities. What we wanted to ask you is, and Ada will provide some further introduction, is to please rename yourself so we can see who is here because I see many participants who joined with my name, with the link I provided. So please put your names on your, instead of my name. And also please place your questions in the chat. You might see that in the agenda, there is no dedicated Q&A session time because we wanted to organize it in a way that you raise your questions in the chat. And then Sylvie Griales from the European Commission will need to leave. So please ensure that those questions you would like to pose to her will be placed in the chat, and then we'll after her presentation, then we can provide some time for reflections. So Adam, with this short introduction from my side from the Danube strategy, I give the floor to you, and please provide your introduction. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Zsuzsa. Good morning, everyone. My name is Adam Kovacs from the International Commission for the Protection of the Danube River. And it is my pleasure to co-moderate this workshop on sludge management with my dear colleague Zsuzsa. Now, for those who do not know the ICPDR, we are an international organization coordinating transboundary water management in the Danube River Basin, in close cooperation with 14 Danube countries, the European Union, and also stakeholders and partners like the EUSDR, for instance. And we also facilitate the implementation of the EU Water Framework Directive and Floods Directive from all transboundary aspects. And this respect, the pollution, for instance, has been identified as a significant water management issue. And reducing the pollution of the surface water bodies in the Danube River Basin is a key objective, but also a major challenge. And why? Because since more than 80 million people call the Danube River Basin their home, so, for instance, municipal wastewater discharges represent a major emission pathway, then can generate various pollutions like organic substances, nutrients, and chemicals in case wastewater is not adequately treated. And we regularly try to understand the status of the water management and evaluate the status, including the technical development, pollution figures, because we want to have an understanding where the sector stands. And on top of the analytical work, we also provide capacity building and knowledge exchange opportunities like today, on focusing on key aspects of water management, also those aspects which are somewhat forgotten or shadowed by others. In the last couple of years, we co-organized with the World Bank and also with the EUSDR workshops on rural wastewater services, financing aspects of wastewater management, but also already one on sludge management, to which this workshop is a sort of a follow-up event. Now, just quickly, if I look at the sector from the regional perspective, around 20 million people, population equivalent, still need basic infrastructure development to put in place proper wastewater collection and treatment. So this is a huge challenge already. And this figure is even higher considering the revised Urban Wastewater Treatment Directive, which on one hand lowered the agglomeration threshold to 1,000, but on the other hand requires more stringent treatment standards. If we look at the different countries, we have a very diverse situation. In the old EU member states, the focus is on proper maintenance and rehabilitation of the existing infrastructure to ensure good performances. Whereas in the new and non-EU member states, the situation is a bit different. Financing infrastructure projects is a key challenge. Sector restructuring is needed. Sometimes a tariff setting is a challenge. And also affordability is a relevant issue. Nevertheless, there is a strong need for capacity strengthening at administration level, at utility level, to improve the financial, operational, and technological aspects of wastewater management in all countries. And again, also all countries, we need to address new challenges, such as removing emerging contaminants, addressing microplastic pollution, or managing urban runoff. Moreover, as we want to emphasize here, that the treatment plants should be seen as a resource recovery facility that can recover elements from the wastewater for beneficial purposes, making wastewater treatment plants more sustainable. And in this respect, the water reuse, sludge management, and energy production optimization can generate financial revenues for the utility, which can partly cover operation and maintenance costs. And this should be recognized. And with a large number of projects to come in the next decades to fulfill the requirements of the EU Urban Wastewater Directive, also the sludge amount will massively increase. Therefore, the countries should establish a strategy regarding the sludge management, whereas utilities should develop operational and business models for such utilization. Now, after saying all these, I'm really eager to learn more about the situation of sludge management from you at the EU level, at the Danube River Basin level, and also at national and utility level. Thank you very much, and now the floor back to Zsuzsa. Thank you.
Thank you very much, dear Adam, for the introductory word. I see that in the meantime, many other people joined. I also added some comments in the chat. Please see. This is also a message that this event is being recorded. So please take note of this. And also, in case you do not want that some pictures are taken from the camera, then you can switch off the camera, or you may switch the camera. So now we turn to the speakers. And we will start with the keynote speech from Silvia Grajales, who works in the Directorate General Environment in the European Commission, in the Directorate specifically dealing with circular economy. And she works more specifically on the Waste Framework Directive, bio-waste and sewage sludge. And our aim to invite Silvia was to provide us an update on the policy and legislation in relation to specifically the sewage sludge in light of recent development, and also in light of the urban wastewater treatment, the Circular Economy Act, and also the freshly adopted water resilience strategy. So Sylvie was also kind to join our last meeting on the Sewage Sludge workshop a few years ago, and we're very happy to invite and that she accepted our invitation and she's here with us today. So Sylvie, the floor is yours, and we are happy to listen to what's the news in Brussels and what's the European Commission is doing now with Sewage Sludge policy updates. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I can share my screen, right? And
we're already sharing the screen for you.
Yeah, so you will change the slides, or?
Yes, we will be sharing the slide.
Oh, this is so kind. Thanks. Yeah, so I'm working in the DG Environment in the Directorate, working on circular economy and industrial pollution, and more precisely on the unit we're dealing with waste management. And this is actually where the work on the Sewage Sludge Directive is concentrated. So we don't work in the same unit as the people working in urban wastewater treatment. So it's seen really from the angle of waste. So if you want to change the slide. Thank you. So the main, let's say, policy instrument that regulates sewage sludge EU-wide is the Sewage Sludge Directive. It's quite old. It is not prescribing to use sludge in agriculture, but is strongly recommending it. So in a way so as to promote nutrient recovery and protection of the environmental health. So the main, let's say, provisions of the directive is that sludge should be treated before use in agriculture, and that you can only apply the sludge on land in certain phases of plant growth, so not at the beginning of growth, so certain periods of the year. And then if you want to do so, you need to respect some limits for contaminants in the sludge and in the soil. So these contaminants so far that are regulated are 7 heavy metals, and so this actually should be updated, and a lot of member states are actually applying more strict requirements. If you want to put the next slide on, thanks. Yeah, so we conducted an evaluation of this directive in 2023, which showed that it is still relevant, especially looking at nutrient recovery. This has become really something very topical. If you look at the criticality of some nutrients like phosphorus and the price of mineral fertilizers that have increased. So the directive has shown that the main route for management of sludge currently is to use it in agriculture, but is followed by incineration is the main alternative. And the directive is actually promoting a use that is cheaper than incineration, like 3 times cheaper. We also see that sludge management is very depending on local conditions. So we shouldn't be too prescriptive about how to manage sludge, because it depends, I mean, obviously on climate, on how your wastewater treatment, how far they are from agricultural land. So we know that sludge is not traveling a lot, very costly, it's very wet. So so we don't want, we want to really leave a lot of flexibility. Also, even for incineration, some member states have made a conscious choice of going for that, and we are not in a position actually to stop this or forbid it. The main let's say, learning from the evaluation is the set of contaminants that are regulated needs update. We should look into like PFAS and organic contaminants like pharmaceuticals and things like this, and microplastics. So this is the next slide, please. So at the moment where we did the evaluation, we didn't really intend to recast the directive like in a very thorough way. However, there are a lot of prescriptions now in the Urban Wastewater Treatment Directive that deal with sludge management. The new Urban Wastewater Treatment Directive will enter into force, in the 1st of January 2025 with staggered deadlines to meet requirements for upgrading or installing new urban wastewater treatment plants. It requires a high level of treatment, which means that a lot of nutrients and especially phosphorus will be taken out from the wastewater in the wastewater treatment plant, and so they will end up in the sludge. So the sludge will be probably very much richer in phosphorus. There is also in the directive, there will be a minimum threshold for recovering of phosphorus, like a combined threshold for recovery of phosphorus from wastewater and sludge. So that will enhance as well recovery of nutrients from sludge. There are also important provisions in terms of energy neutrality. So the wastewater treatment plants are very energy demanding, and there'll be requirements to actually ensure that energy produced or consumed by a wastewater treatment plant will also be produced on site. So that means that this will increase very much the use of anaerobic digestion to produce biogas, which then is a means of energy for the energy production for the wastewater treatment plant. There will also be some work on PFAS. They will come up with methodology to measure PFAS, and the same for microplastics. So come up with also methodology on how to measure microplastics. So next slide, please. So the sludge management is very horizontal. So there are many actually other legislation and initiatives that have been lately like revised or that are in the process of revision that are impacting or will impact sludge management. So there was the water resilience strategy came out lately. It's not really a regulatory tool as such, but it promotes water resilience. And sludge is not really directly mentioned there, but it's relevant in terms of water reuse, so enhancing wastewater reuse. There is also the Renewable Energy Directive, which sets targets for consuming more renewable energy. So it should be doubled by 2030 to like 42, ideally 50%. And today we are like at 24.5% of energy consumption coming from organic feedstock and renewable energy. So obviously, treatment of sludge and producing biogas through sludge is a way to produce renewable energy. There also the Common Agricultural Policy is under evaluation, and member states have to come up also with national plans on how to green actually agriculture, and so some have also some prescriptions on national strategies for sludge management in this respect, together with bio-waste or manure. The Nitrates Directive is also under revision, and also it prescribes a certain maximum amount of nitrogen that you can apply on land. And then the emissions trading scheme legislation also will disincentivize more and more incineration, because you have to buy credit in order to incinerate waste. And then more broadly, there will be also a revision of the bioeconomy strategy. So that's due end of this year. And so the Commission will come up with it end of this year. And this will actually fit sludge management and bio-waste in the more broad, let's say, context. If you look at how they compare in terms of volumes and nutrient output with manure or bio-waste and other biomass. So yeah, the bioeconomy strategy was actually until now managed by DG Research in the Commission, and now it's actually managed by DG Environment. There'll be quite a lot of focus there. Next slide, please. Now, I was saying that we didn't intend to recast the whole directive thoroughly, but we have the opportunity now to amend it. So we'll do that through what we call the Circular Economy Act. So under the new mandate of the new Commission, the President van der Leyen, and then it was announced also when in this Clean Industrial Deal and Competitiveness Compass. So there was a lot of I mean, we had a few reports that showed there was a need to focus on circularity, on the quality of secondary raw materials, and on the uptake of secondary raw materials. So we have problems with recycling, because either the recyclates are of poor quality. So this actually has, let's say, link for sewage sludge in terms of standards, for instance, that can be set for management of sludge, uptake of sludge in agriculture, and also we see that a lot of recyclates, of recycled products, recyclable products, are more expensive than others on the market. So there's going to be a big drive to come up with this legislation that will try to address this. So improve quality of renewable materials and improve uptake of renewable materials. You have one example is phosphorus that is recovered, that can be recovered from sludge ash, for instance. Apparently is stacked when you find piles of it. That cannot be let's say sold or got rid of, because they are of not the right quality standard for input in mineral fertilizers, or they're much more expensive than phosphorus that you would directly mine or import from outside the EU. So phosphorus has become now a critical raw material. That means that there are some specific strategies to manage it and secure supply, because it's a finite element in terms of when you mine it from phosphate rock, and because we are very dependent on exports in this, or imports in this regard, especially from Russia, for instance, and northern Africa, like Tunisia. So yeah, we can set the next slide. A few words on the Circular Economy Act. There'll be a horizontal actually approach in terms of simplification. So we also have to see how we can simplify sludge management and maybe incorporate it into different policy instruments, so that we saw already earlier. And so really horizontally, we're looking at simplifying, digitalizing, minimizing reporting obligation, and reducing administrative burden. There'll be 3 pillars in the Circular Economy Act. That is the one where we're going to work on the Waste Framework Directive. So sludge is waste, and it is actually covered by the Waste Framework Directive. There will be a pillar that is not relevant for you for now, is the Waste Electrical and Electric Equipment Directive. And then there are going to be flanking measures, so also horizontal measures in content. So for instance, looking at cap and trade systems for landfilling. So we want to phase out landfilling of sludge. A lot of work also on end of waste criteria. So this is so simplify them and harmonize them better, because for the moment, so if you want to use waste, so if you want to use sludge, you need to set up end of waste criteria whereby it stops to be a waste, but it becomes a product. And so this is mostly done by setting limits on the content of sludge in contaminants. And this varies very much from member state to member state. There will be also extended producer responsibility schemes whereby producers of chemicals or products that can become waste will have to contribute financially to the waste management downstream. Also working on recycled content in products, so looking into imposing a certain amount of recyclates that should be in products. So that's horizontal. And and so Sewage Sludge is part of the review and looking at, so since we're talking about circularity, we're looking at how to increase the circularity of sludge and nutrient recovery from sludge. So next slide. So on the what they call flanking measures, so horizontal measures that would be like the third pillar of the Act. Yes, so maybe I forgot to mention. So the Circular Economy Act is actually it will be an omnibus regulation. So that is one regulation that can amend several pieces of legislation. Usually we use these omnibuses for financing or adjusting financial regulations and stuff like that. So it's quite a new thing to use it in this way really on content. And there's also omnibus regulations coming up on simplification. So what could be relevant for sludge here is looking at environmental taxes. So it's looking into tax measures and national cap and trade system. So coming back to ETS and taxation. So we can look into the next slide. And so so there will so the Circular Economy Act will be proposed by the Commission next year. So in principle, end of next year. So we're already looking on at impact assessment. We have started studies with the JRC and external contractors to support the review. And the Green Week is focusing on the circular economy this year. There will be a clean industrial dialogue starting on the circularity. So that's managed by DG Grow, so in the Commission. And there'll be a public consultation. So you're very welcome to provide input to that. It will come out in early July. And so invite you to provide your input on sludge management, how we could improve circularity of nutrients, data you might have also on safety, because it's very, the evaluation of the sludge directive showed that we don't know so much about the fate of contaminants in the soil and how they are taken up in the soil through the plants. So it's, sludge is sometimes regarded as unsafe, but it showed that it is not necessarily. So it depends also very much on the surrounding industry that you may have. If you have an airport nearby or a wastewater treatment plant, then your sludge will probably not be, be contaminated in PFAS and stuff. So showing and demonstrating the safety of the use of sludge. And so, I think I covered the rest. So if you have questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you very much, dear Sylvie. I think it was a really excellent overview, and then we can also learn what is the situation in the EU. And my understanding is that, as you rightly said, that you would welcome the input of Danube strategy and also the ICPDR, so Danube-wide, region-wide overview on the sludge aspect in the upcoming consultations. And then I assume that the consultation will be publicly announced in the website, in the DGM website. So
yeah, it will be in the general, where you find the open public consultations. Yeah.
And there is, okay, thank you very much. I see that there's a question raised to you, and I also promoted, please encourage people to place your questions in the chat, because it's a unique opportunity to directly ask questions from Sylvie. I see that Danka already has a question. Danka, can you just please put on your camera, and you can also ask the question you raised.
Oops. Yes. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for the presentation. It's probably, I'm water person and I do not have so many contact with the waste people directly, so I'm very pleased to hear this presentation. I have a question that, so did I understand well that there is no intention to recast the old sludge directive, or did I understand wrong?
No, so yeah, the instrument, the Sewage Sludge Directive itself will not be recast like as a sole standalone, let's say, instrument. It is being, sludge management is being addressed by several other horizontal, or not necessarily horizontal, but legislation or initiatives that are linked to sludge management. And so amendments to the directive, if any, will be done through the Circular Economy Act for now. And the main thing that would be to be done for the moment is to update also the list of contaminants. So it will, I mean, there will be some amendments, but there will not be a new directive as such. You see what I mean? So more, let's say, indirect or covered by other pieces of legislation. Like we could look, for instance, at water reuse legislation, soil strategy as well, soil monitoring law, things like this.
Okay, thank you. And reporting as well.
Reporting for the time being is not, I mean, there is no intent to look at, to change reporting.
Okay, thank you.
It will remain under the Sludge Directive. But obviously, if there are some opportunities for simplification, we know that the spatial reporting, I mean, now there's a need for member states to report on where sludge is applied on agriculture, and it's not working very well. So
Thank you very much.
we know a bit where it is. So member states have difficulties reporting, and the data we get is not very, very useful or precise, because we just know. I mean, because member states have the choice to report punctually, like sludge is applied here in some area around that point. They can also report spatially, like explaining exactly the area, delimiting the area where sludge is applied. But most of them choose to, for confidentiality reasons, for instance, they choose to report just punctually. So that's an issue for us, because we would like to have data that would link sludge contamination or sludge application with soil contamination or soil non-contamination. So we have like in Denmark and Sweden some certification schemes that work very well and show that like over 10, 20, 30 years, there's no contamination of the soil. So yeah, so reporting could be indeed improved, let's say this way. Okay, good. I see that.
Yeah, you can see that there is a question also from Adam, or another question, rather a statement.
Yeah, it's very
you
good.
can also.
Yeah, that's what. I was mentioning the certification schemes. That's what they look at. They look at more substances than just heavy metals. And indeed, like for instance, PFAS. I look at PFAS 4, PFAS 22.
I also call upon the other participants in case you would like to raise a question to Sylvie, please do so. Or also you can raise your hand in case you wish to do so. Because my understanding is that Sylvie, you might not be able to stay with us much longer. So in case the questions are raised, then that could be a unique opportunity now.
Well, if you have more and you can post them, like send them to me by email.
Okay. Then I can do that.
I have a question, if that's
Please,
okay.
Wanda.
With the sludge managing process in the singular countries in European Union, I believe there has to be some kind of infrastructure in a country, like as for I don't know, for the phosphorus extraction or maybe the incineration of the sludge. But I think that not all countries have the infrastructure needed for that. So it's okay to bring those regulatives onto the entire European Union, but I think that might be a problem if there is some kind of issue with the infrastructure. So what if a country cannot incinerate the sludge? What if a country cannot extract the phosphorus or do something else? So I think that could be a little problematic.
So the Urban Wastewater Treatment Directive impact assessment is actually looking looked at the needs for infrastructures. There is also funding possibilities under regional funding. So there is promotion of anaerobic digestion and composting and taxonomy. So the main, let's say, tool for member states to attribute, let's say, public funding or like guideline. And there is no, there will not be any, let's say, incentive for incineration. There's no support for incinerators, but there is support for recovery of phosphorus after incineration. So like after incineration, you can recover phosphorus in a form that is almost like rock phosphate that you would mine. So there are some schemes and possibilities for EU funding for installing these facilities, also probably under the Renewable Energy Directive. These ones I'm not so familiar with, but I'm sure there is.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Wanda, for the question raised. Wanda is from Croatia, and Sylvie for your reply. And I'm sure that it will be very important for all those countries who consider difficulties with with this incineration, and they're looking also for some further EU funds. So it's a very important piece of information. I see that Maya also has close to the question. For some reason, there is no hand raising option. Oh, I'm sorry. Maya's presentation will be after Attila's presentation, and she will also provide some presentations to alternatives to incinerations. So it will be good to hear. Okay, I see that there is no direct questions now placed in the chat. And so then thank you very much, Sylvie, for your excellent overview of the situation and also for this very important additional information, which I think will be used by the stakeholders. And we will make sure that there will be some input provided for the upcoming stakeholder discussions, as you well noted, that it will be coming up in early July. So thank you very much for the presentation. And now we will continue with the program. I think we are more or less in time. And the next speaker will be Attila Furstand from Tranecon Planning and Consulting Ltd. Attila has a PhD and he's a senior environmental consultant, an environmental planning professional, and also a project leader at the Department of Regional Development at Tranecon. And Attila is the one who actually carried out this research in the Danube-wide survey in relation to sewage sludge management for the Danube region strategy. And so we're very happy to have Attila here with us to provide us an insight of the results of this Danube study and also some further thoughts on this overview. So Attila, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Zsuzsa. And Well, and I also welcome everybody to this event. And just going into the study, let me give you a couple of words on the background. So we are not starting from zero. So we have already worked with the Danube region. Some like 3-4 years ago, we joined our forces and we tried to prepare a study, a document that would be some kind of starting point for the Danube region in its efforts to work with this sewage sludge issue. And after these 4 years, we have been reassigned this task. Administratively, it was the Hungarian Ministry of Foreign Affairs. The Danube region water quality priority area works within the ministry, and the ministry commissioned us to prepare to update this study that we have prepared 4 years ago. So actually, we've got quite history in this slide issue already. We have prepared the Hungarian sludge management strategy, and we're working on waste, on the renewing of the waste management strategy of the country. So now we are really in the issue. The last study was really well published and publicized. So we had similarly to nowadays many events and workshops, especially targeted for sewage sludge. This new study has already been presented to many Danube region and ICPDR forums, and I believe we had like good inputs from them as well. And just to give a couple of ideas of the results of these consultations with this old study and new thoughts, our understanding is that the actors in the Danube region are really very much for a much more uniform and stricter level Central European Union regulation. And this is somehow in contrast with what Celia has just told us. And I believe that the good consultation can lead to a good and well-balanced solution. Also, that already in the past, actors in the Danube region realized that sludge is a product, it's a source of energy, and this is how it should be viewed. And the importance of circular economy in this regard. However, everybody raised the issue of pollution control, and this pollution control is indeed something that we have to take consideration right at the source if possible, and if not, then later on. So if you go to the next slide, we can just see what exactly we did in our new study. Well, naturally, we analyzed the recent trends and the policy development. A lot has been done in the last 1 or 2 years. Sylvia told us about this, and you have to know that tons of documents were produced, a lot of surveys, a lot of assessments, and then a lot of analysis that would help people to go for a better future. So I believe now in regards to sludge, there is really substantial background, both scientific and policy, that can give good guidance to the users. However, still, as we heard, the revision of the sludge directive is ongoing, but the wastewater directive had and has a really large impact on the sludge management as well. and it creates some kind of problems. I mean, if you talk about operators, and I'm sure that they will tell their view on the wastewater direction later on in the last section. It is rather problematic for them to comply with the new regulations. Well, we have already presented some case studies, and we already did a survey, and this stakeholder survey is what I want to show you more in detail, because I believe that you're going to have a good overview of what's going on in detail in the countries and at certain operators. However, this stakeholder survey can give you a bit of a different view on the overall problems. But before we go into that, let's have a couple of words on the major trends on sewage sludge management in the Danube region. In the next slide, you can see our major observations based on the Eurostat data. And if we are at data, actually, we have to be aware that the Eurostat data is not good enough for any comprehensive and well-detailed analysis of a country or of a region. It is very broad. The detailedness is very weak. The classification that the Eurostat follows, I believe, is more or less outdated. So there are, in my view, there are really severe problems with this kind of data collection. The data collection scheme has been changed in what was changed maybe a few years ago, but it was not, in my view, it didn't give a very good impetus or a better impetus for this data collection. Still, we see that there is a management gap in the case of some countries. So considerable amount of sludge simply disappears according to the Eurostat data in some countries. That is weird. There is no reliable data on export and import. In some countries, this is a lot of material that crosses borders and is somehow somewhere managed. We don't know how. The professional detailedness of this data is weak. For example, Sylvia has told us about incineration and the phosphorus recovery from ash. Well, most of the technologies can work well if we consider the phosphorus recovery. If mono incineration is done, co-incineration is not usually suitable. If we think in terms of phosphorus recovery, we don't know how much sludge is co or mono incinerated. But these are technological issues. However, they have really strong relevance if we talk about sludge management, and it's an issue when any analysis or any strategy is to be done. Concerning the actual topic, the sludge, what happens with sludge, not with the data. So what we saw that there is no significant increase in sludge quantity in the Danube region. This means probably that not much investment went into the waste water management sector, and not even in the accession countries. However, the modes of recovery considerably changed in the Danube region. It's good news that landfilling and direct agricultural use of sludge strongly decreased, which is really good from pollution point of view and from a nutrient recovery point of view. Incineration is becoming now the more and more widespread, naturally, mostly in the higher income countries. However, in some other countries, it also occurs. The production of compost and compost-related products slightly increases, and this technology, you know, has relevance in energy generation as well. So this can be maybe a good moderate solution for many countries. However, we have to comment that countries greatly differ in what they do with their sludge. It's a question of investment, and there are countries that rely really much on incineration, countries that rely on composting, but unfortunately there are countries that still landfill the majority of their sludge. So after this overview, let me give you a couple of ideas on the results of the survey that we conducted. We had actually three themes that we targeted. We tried to see about the policies, legislation, about technology, and the overall management routes. Very many more than 200 invitations were sent out for filling in the forms. We had 29 responses from 6 countries, and also Danube region and EU partners responded. This means that although it's not a full coverage, but it's relatively okay, I believe. And let's see about the policies and legislation in the next 2 slides. This question concerned the quality of the policy, and if you go 1 slide further, we'll see that the legislation was also monitored. Actually, for me, this was a bit disappointing. That it's really somehow the people are not satisfied, not at all with neither the policies nor the legislation. Naturally, they want to comply with all these, but it's not easy for them. And we had a separate question at another session on the supportiveness of the legislation. Well, only 31% of the people was positive, strongly positive, when it was about the good legislative backgrounds in their country. I believe this is weak, so there is still need to work on these issues of policies and legislation. Going further in the slides, we asked about the most advanced technologies, and again, a bit more than 1/3 of the people who answered were positive, that yes, good and adequate technologies are available, and unfortunately, something like 10% said no, that there were no good technologies available in sewage treatment and sludge treatment, which is a pity. Going further, we asked the question of the modes of sludge utilization, and these results show a contradiction with the results of the Eurostat data. So we see that landfilling still prevails, which is too bad. However, in the countries who answered our survey, landfilling was not reported to the Eurostat. So this is a very clear contradiction. Unfortunately, more than 20% of the people replied that untreated sludge is used on agricultural land or on land under recultivation. I believe that from the pollution point of view, this is not good and not adequate. So still a lot has to be done, and this leads us to monitoring and reporting issues again. Going further with the slides, we are here at the monitoring, and not half of people who answered stated that yes, monitoring is really fine, it's adequate, and that's all. This means that in half of the cases there can be pollution and there can be some harm to the waters, to the soils, but we don't know. Well, naturally, this is a very uncertain area. Hopefully, in most of the cases, there is some kind of monitoring, but probably it's not adequate in very many cases. Going further, about the technological bottlenecks, well, the emerging pollutants and pollutants in general, it seems are problem. So again, it leads us, especially the emerging pollutants issue, it leads us to the issue of how we don't even know how we shall monitor this, how we shall measure these, and it is an issue. We will see how the new regulation will proceed. So if we go forward with the slides, unfortunately, in many cases, some very negative tendencies can be seen. The operators of power plants would do whatever they can, and they are really at the good end of management. But if going forward with the slides, we see that still there are really problematic issues. Feasibility, most of the cases, no, high-tech solutions are not feasible. And the next slide, we can see that still high investment costs hinder a lot of good and new developments. So there are still a lot of things to do in legislation and in financing of this sludge management issue. And just summing up and ending this presentation, in the next slide, please. Let me give you an overview of what people think the Danube region organization BA4 can do in sludge management. And it is an interesting issue because you know that the Danube region is a supportive organization. However, actors would expect more. They would expect more action and direct help from all other actors, international organizations, including the Danube region. And one major point was to develop a common but country-specific sludge management strategy, which is a big work. And with this quality of data, it is a very big challenge as well. But countries and actors realize the role of the Danube region in general, and they are always happy to share their thoughts and good practices with others, and they expect the Danube region to cooperate in all these issues with them. So thank you very much, and I believe this is a good opportunity for this cooperation that the actors really seek for in the sludge management. Thank you.
Thank you very much, dear Attila, for this overview. And indeed, the study was really useful, and it was also presented to several other working groups within the Danube strategy and also within the ICPDR EGs. And indeed, as it was recommended that Danube is becoming even more active in this sludge perspective, and that was also the reason why we wanted to organize this workshop, to provide the information and to disseminate the information further and to encourage discussion on the topic. I see that there are some questions posed in the chat, but I also see that we are somehow behind the schedule, and so Katarina from Austria had a question about for which timeline were the trends evaluated, and maybe you can reply to that shortly.
Yeah, it was the last 10 years. So in both studies, we had a look at the last 10 years. So it's a pretty long trend, I believe, where changes can be seen.
And Martin Robert Gish from PA5, because actually strategy PA5 is also following this discussion, asked the question regarding the trends of sludge quantity. Could there be a reason that industries are more likely to establish in-house treatment with self-technologies instead of letting the sewage water travel to the wastewater treatment facilities?
Yes, I mean, in this, so we considered the communal wastewater only, so not industrial waste. This is a very industrial waste is a very different issue. So even though the amount of industrial waste is increasing, we did not have a look on that. But our experience shows that on Danube region level, the quantity does not, communal wastewater quantity does not increase too much in the last few years.
Thank you, Attila. I also see that some participants asking whether the report is available online. Yes, it is. It's on the PA4 website. In a minute, I will also place yes, I see that Victor already placed it. Thanks, Victor. It was also in the concept note, but it's in our website. So thank you very much, Attila, for your presentation. And now we will need to take one step further and see the situation from a non-EU perspective. And we will provide Maja Klokovic-Doll from Dekonta will provide a presentation about the situation actually in Bosnia and Herzegovina. Maja has a master in environmental sciences and environmental waste management expert, and she has more than 15 years of expertise in waste management, including sludge from WWTPs. So you will hear an expert from Bosnia and Herzegovina. And Maja, we're happy to welcome you here from Dekonta. Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, and good afternoon to everyone. I was carefully listening to previous presentation, and I have many answers to offer to the questions raised in the chat and as well by the presenters, and I liked all of them. So I'm going to present the situation in Bosnia, or from Bosnian perspective, let's better call it, although we are really tightly connected to the EU, because you are adopting new legislation, but we are actually experts in transposing it. So sometimes imposing the stricter regulation in the countries like Bosnia in the Balkan region rather than you have it in the EU. So if not for your sake, be careful what you are writing for our sake, because it's very, very hard to implement this. So to go a step further, or step back rather, related to the sludge management, because I know that there are also people here from the wastewater treatment, rather, water related issues experts. I think that the sludge is really strictly connected to the regulations related to the water. Although, as Sylvie has mentioned, the sludge is actually defined as a waste and actually dealt with within the Sewage Sludge Directive as a material that could be reused and used at the certain surfaces. Let's talk about that later on. What are the utilization routes regarding the sludge? But what is important to mention is the sludge is waste, but it's not hazardous waste. And why I'm mentioning this is something that I'm going to discuss or present later on, because exactly this fact that the sludge is a waste hardens the utilization and final management of the sludge. So could you go to the next slide? I would like to remind you, all of us and you, that actually the result of the sludge production are we, I mean, the population itself. And actually the wastewater treatment plants are introduced to lower the pressures on the waters, but as well as a result of those wastewater treatments, we have as I would call it byproduct, maybe not even a waste, a lot of sludge. So we are on one hand trying to lower the impacts of our activities. On the other hand, we are actually creating some additional pressures that we then need to deal with. That's not an issue, that's clear for all of us. But the thing is that sometimes the ways of how to handle it are biased by the opinions of different experts, maybe not in the field of waste, which somehow hardens the choice of the solution. Why is that? If we go to the next slide, let me remind you that actually in the treatment of the wastewater, you have two lines, basically. The one is treatment of the water, which is the upper line. And out of that comes the line of the treatment of the sludge. And basically, after a couple of steps, and in case you have digester, for example, in Bosnia, some wastewater treatment plants do not have it. We get as a result sludge, which is basically, those are the biosolids. And then after that, the question is what to do with this sludge. So sometimes it's stabilized, so you don't have issues. Sometimes the stabilization doesn't work well, and so on. So it depends on the quality of the sludge and the available technologies, and of course the financial means of the wastewater treatment plant, what you are going to choose as a final solution, which means that each facility could choose some different solution depending, what is good for them. I mean, environmentally wise, economically wise, and so on. So what I want to say that there are different technologies how to treat it. So we don't need some new science fiction solutions. What we need is, closing the circle and the life circle of the sludge, creating something that is feasible for the existing wastewater treatment plant and the country, which puts me back to the question that Wanda was asking, and I will respond to that later on. There are some solutions which could be utilized. In the European Union, we go mainly to the incineration because you guys seems to have a lot of money, maybe not the eastern side. And then you spend more money to get the phosphorus and nitrogen out of that, which is a bit ambiguous if you see what are the limit values imposed. And sometimes even in Bosnia, we don't have a huge issues related to the high levels of the heavy metals or similar. So we don't need really some specifically complicated technologies to solve it. But we still have an issue, and you will see why. So let's go to the next slide. This is the issue also that lacks understanding, especially in the Balkan. I guess maybe this is the case also in European Union, because I'm in contact with some of the colleagues, especially in the Czech Republic, and I know that the sludge actually final utilization, I would rather call it like that rather than disposal, is actually usually a subject of discussion and quarreling between the Ministry of Environment and Ministry of Agriculture, which is usually refusing the use and application of the sludge in agricultural soil, although there are some other types of the soil where you can use it. And I didn't see that anyone from the previous presenters mentioned that. And this was actually one of the solutions that was suggested in Bosnia in the last couple of years. So the point is that the sludge as a material, let's call it, after being treated, when it fulfills certain limits of the pollutants present in them or pathogens, which is sometimes bigger issue than the heavy metals, especially in Bosnia, is actually bringing benefits for the soil, and it has different benefits listed here, pointing out the usefulness of the sludge as a material. Of course, there are certain risks. If the sludge has not been treated but used and so on, and due to those risks which exist or do not exist at some wastewater treatment facilities or represent a certain threat, those are the reasons why the sludge needs to be treated. And why the sludge then needs to be, the final utilization location of the sludge needs to be monitored. You have mentioned, I think, Sylvie has mentioned also the quality of the soil and lack of data after applying the sludge. Actually, we are lacking a lot of data related to the sludge quality, which is varying from plant to plant, from country to country, from location to location, especially its application, because it takes a lot of time. Although I've personally also worked in Bosnia on application of sludge on certain surfaces, and I will tell you why, to follow what are the impacts. But monitoring of the sludge of the final location is actually something that we need to focus on rather than the sludge quality as much itself. Of course, to confirm that there are certain pollutants are below the limits, because this is something that we want to follow up, from the beginning of the waste and impact on the health and of the people and protection of the environment. So going to the next slide, we already mentioned there are certain limits defined within the sludge directive. There are also some other directives dealing with the waste. We are talking about update of the sludge directive, maybe some introducing some limits to additional parameters like PFAS, these new sexy chemicals coming out of the Stockholm Convention and so on. But we are still dealing with some issues that are being part of this old sludge directive, like heavy metals. And sludge directive is actually mostly focusing on the application of the sludge in agricultural land. Why is this big issue, for example, for Bosnia, is because at the moment, due to the limits imposed and also due to different researches and stuff, we have, to be on the safe side, not to use the sludge in agriculture, treated or not treated, monitored or not monitored. We decide the easiest way is to ban the application of the sludge in agricultural land. So this solution, although applicable and utilized in EU countries, is prohibited in federation, not so vaguely in the other entity. It's a bit vague in the other entity. So what we did, the experts working, not many of us working on the sludge issues in Bosnia, we were actually pursuing the adoption of the legislation, which would in some way allow or at least track the route to the wastewater treatment plants managers, what to do with the sludge. If you are forbidding the most applicable solution, what else is to be done? And I personally worked on that legislation. And legislation was actually brought trying to offer ways how to utilize the sludge after the treatment, to limit the financial expenses, but also to offer the certain way of how to ensure the monitoring of the overall process. So what we did is that we have developed the legislation, because we didn't have a lot of time, just a couple of months to introduce the solution. So this is just like the first step to use the treated sludge on the degraded areas, mostly landfills, which are under recultivation, because of the benefits of the sludge. We had a huge fight with the Ministry of Agriculture, which repeatedly forbidden the use in agriculture, which was fine, which we accepted, but still they imposed the limits of applying the treated sludge that needs to fulfill even the criteria of use in agricultural land. So we are treating the sludge, or we prescribe the treatment of sludge up to the limits, as we are going to use it in agricultural land, although we are not going to use it there, but we are going to use it on degraded areas. So it sounds like good optimal solution, especially knowing that when we analyze the sludge, we have seen that in most of the cases, we actually do not have huge issues related to the heavy metals. The biggest issues were related to the presence of pathogens, because sometimes the stabilization and digestion was not working within the plant, or the efficiency was not at the highest level, and so on. So we thought, okay, this is great. We have solution, not much to be treated. We can somehow solve it with composting, which is also one of the cheapest ways, increase the temperature of the sludge and so on. But there are certain issues also that occur that we still don't have ways how to deal with it. And if we go to the next slide, let me just remind you that regardless what are the values, which country of EU is doing what with the sludge, there are several ways that are allowed. Okay, some of them limited or in the phase out, like landfills and so on, but agriculture, composting and using on some public areas or whatever, landfilling, incineration, some other more innovative ideas and so on. At the moment, aside of the incineration in Bosnia is only allowed to treat the sludge and use it on some degraded areas, which sounds like a solution, but it's not a solution at all. So if we go to the next slide, what currently we are doing with the wastewater treatment in Bosnia. So we have open discharges, septic tanks. We have some individual systems, because the cities aside of the couple of bigger cities are not that big. We have wastewater treatment plants. But let me tell you, though, that we have allowed industries to adopt to the regulations that we have transposed from the EU. And until end of 2026, we told them you can discharge whatever you want. But in the meantime, we have constructed and reconstructed the wastewater treatment plants, to which we have imposed certain limitations. And those wastewater treatment plants are all publicly owned, so they're not privately owned. So we imposed certain limits and limitations to the wastewater treatment plants that are struggling with the operational finances. So if we go to the next slide, we have mentioned, or I think Sylvie has mentioned several, I was writing down that several restrictions that are related to the sludge management. I would say that they are much wider. I mean, at least when you come to the application of the sludge, first, because it's defined as a waste. So it needs to be handled as a waste. This means that whoever is going to deal with the sludge, at least in Bosnia, but I think this is the case in Balkan and EU, needs to have waste management permit. There are many different regulations related to this. Sludge quality varies a lot due to the technology that is used, due to the location of the wastewater treatment plants, number of population, the habits of population, and so on. So you cannot apply one solution for everyone. There are certain risks. They require a huge financial investments to solve the issues. In Bosnia, we are even lacking laboratories for certifying, for example, even in the cases when we are treating the sludge and it's not waste anymore, but it becomes a product, as was mentioned before, we still need a laboratory to confirm this. And additionally, related to the financing, most of the cities still didn't encounter the collection of the wastewater in the fees that are paid by the population, not to mention treatment of the wastewater or sludge, which was until now for free, and now you're I mean, by the legislation, we are imposing higher prices. So if we go to the next slide, it's not so easy to find a solution for the sludge. We want to lower the pressures of the population, and then, we are imposing the limits, but we are ending up with the byproducts or waste that requires long-term planning, financing, capacity building, knowledge. And as you know, even in the EU, the knowledge is lacking. And I will provide you the answers why you are lacking the data about, and why the sludge quality is not increasing when I will present the wastewater treatment plants in Bosnia. So it's going to become clear to you why this is happening. So it's really, really hard to find some business model, private, public, or public-private partnership, especially because there are huge uncertainties related to this. So no one wants to commit to that. And as well, if we go to the next slide, responsibilities of the sludge management being a waste, in Bosnia and Herzegovina rely on the Ministry of Environment, Ministry of Agriculture. Then we have 2 entities. We have 1 district. You need to have a regulatory bodies that will actually help in processing the waste, some supervision related to the institutions that are going to supervise, or reference laboratories and so on, which somehow comes easy to you in EU because it's already set. But at the end, it comes all to the local community, and they are the ones being responsible which means the local municipalities that are introducing the wastewater treatment plants and treatment itself, which is impossible because they don't have knowledge, they don't have money, and so on. So what happened in Bosnia on the next slide in the last years? As I told you, with industries, we are kind of, letting them do whatever they want. We do have legislation that limits this discharge of water. I think there was a question from Martin related to the industries. For example, we have legislation, which is also in the EU, that we allow the discharge in the sewage system then going to the wastewater treatment plant or to the surface water, depending on the limits. But at the moment, as I said, industries are not connected to the wastewater treatment plants, but they are not connected to anything else. They are discharging mostly directly. So we are not threatened in the moment. I mean, the work of the wastewater treatment plant is not threatened by the industries. And since 80s, I mean, beginning of 80s, we have started introducing the first wastewater treatment plants, then during the war, 92, 95, which we somehow always mention, like before Christ and after Christ was born, we started reconstructing the wastewater treatment plants that were demolished and constructing new plants. So, the reconstruction, the projects, the credit lines, the banks were going crazy, World Bank, EBRD. So we were not getting the EU funds for free. We are getting loans, trying to fulfill the legislation that we have transposed from the EU, and we built a lot of wastewater treatment plants, and none of them now don't know what to do with the sludge, because at the time when we were building and reconstructing them, it was said that the sludge could be disposed at the landfill. And then our great government decided to forbid aside of the agriculture, forbid also disposal at the landfills. And then we came to the point in the next slide, trying to find the different solutions, which is what you are guys basically doing in the EU, which is landfilling, agriculture, exporting, others, energy. And we come also to the point that was asked by someone in the presentation. So landfilling forbidden, agriculture forbidden. These other methods like disposal of degraded areas, impossible. Why? Because there's a huge fuss between the population that the sludge is like, toxic, radioactive waste or whatever. Because we present it like that. I mean, to be honest, we are always imposing new limits, always new parameters. And when you listen about that, not knowing a lot, then you think about, okay, when they start bringing all these limits, especially NGOs and CSOs, this means that this is really something that is really dangerous. So for us, it's fine not to monitor use of the pesticides in our agriculture because we don't check how much is applied. But, use of the sludge in agriculture or degraded areas, this is something that we cannot do. I mean, no one is accepting this. So we cannot find any mine, or we cannot find any degraded area that is actually would accept treated sludge that fulfills criteria for disposal in agricultural soil. This is what I'm trying to do in the last 4 years. Impossible. You have population that it says immediately, if it's so, like if it's not so hazardous, why don't you do something else? So
Dear Maya, I'm sorry to interrupt you. It's just a little bit lagging behind time, and
I will finish in 2 minutes.
Slides, so please, thank you.
So just to tell you that it's really important for me to present all of this, because we have all representatives from the European Union working together with you on different legislation, but I think we are lacking the knowledge about the final solution and application of the sludge. And I'm sorry for being lengthy, but I just noticed this morning that the timeline was shortened. So at the moment, what we are doing, we are exporting only from the one wastewater treatment plant. The other ones don't know what to do with the sludge. So it's discarded wherever. That's probably what is happening in the EU, because you are imposing strict solution, which are really costly, and they are just finding ways how to do it. The second reason could be what is happening in our case is that the amount of the sludge is lowering because they don't know what to do with that, so they just discharge untreated water. No one is checking this. And at the end, it's a very serious business planning that we need to actually let's go to the 2 slides after this, so I can. So these are the prices that we calculated, and it's pretty expensive. And we come to the business planning, and because we have a waste, it's a part of the circular economy, we need to deal with that. And actually, it comes to the point that we need to plan it. It's not so easy to have the solutions. And coming back to the legislation and demands and permits and so on, it's very hard task imposed at the end to the local community, the wastewater treatment plant. And it's very hard to be implemented. So these are the issues that the Balkan region is facing. You don't have data for Montenegro. Montenegro is giving the sludge to the Albanian company, which is actually then discharging it at the Skadar Lake. So we have issues with monitoring and everything else. But I think that the situation is somehow mirroring in mild situation in the European Union. And I think that the final implications need to be well presented and thought before adopting the new legislation. So thank you, sorry for a long presentation. There are some slides, but you can share it with others. I don't need to present it.
Thank you, Maya. And I'm sorry, I didn't want to interrupt, but I just saw that we're somehow slipping into the breaks time, and already we have Caro is waiting for us. So, but indeed, your presentation was excellent, and especially the problem slide. I think it was really nicely demonstrating the problem, which is really a problem for all the countries. I did not see any question posed in the slide in the chats. So I assume there are no immediate questions raised to Maya. Really, Maya, thank you very much for this excellent overview of a non-EU perspective. And I call to the podium Caro, and I hope that Caro is here with us, because we had to switch the agenda to fit also to his schedule. And
yes, I'm there.
Caro, you can join us. Thank you. Caro also has a PhD. He's the chairman of the Hungarian Water Association, also a former president of the European Water Association, the vice chairman of the SM Water Academic and Development Committee. And he's from Hungary. He will have a very short presentation overview of an EU perspective, presenting also a Hungarian situation. So Caro, thank you. Really appreciate that you put it in your business schedule to provide us a short overview. Thank you.
Yeah. So thank you very much for the opportunity, and a special thank to Maya. Let's stay with the title before we go on to the slides, because I would like to say that the situation what was presented concerning Bosnia and Herzegovina is, and she was also taking and bringing examples from the Czech Republic and other EU countries struggling with more or less the very same problems. The contradiction between potential and in good many cases and substances, very positive effects or potential positive effects of the sludge after proper handling, utilization in the agriculture to improve the conditions of soil and everything, and providing the circularity of phosphorus and other important substances with the fight with the agriculture and with the landowners, etc., etc. It's quite similar with some differences. Let's say to be in the EU and to have the past 20 years of a lot of investments into sewers and wastewater treatment plants. Over the past 20 years, if we take Hungary, then we have not doubled, but almost doubled the length of the sewer network, increased very much, and doubled the number of wastewater treatment plants from 400 to 800 recently. And if she mentioned the challenge of municipalities, that they do not have the money and they have to solve separately their problems, then there is a positive development in Hungary over the past 15 years now concerning the integration and the regionalization of service provision and service providers, and there the opportunity to more cost efficiently organize the sludge treatment with centralized sludge treatment facilities using the energy potential and using potentially using the phosphorus and the other substances in the sludge. She mentioned also the problem that existed previously as well in all of our countries, the industrial and heavy metal discharge and load and high concentrations in the sludge that disappeared, as we have heard in Bosnia as well in our countries. But what we have and research in Hungary is showing the ever-rising problem, and that's also a high concern in the European Union, the microplastics, where different research is showing that 98% of the microplastics that is entering from households, from the industry, from everywhere, by the way, not least also from roads, with the rainwater in combined sewers, where in overall Europe, the largest microplastic and heavy metal polluted fraction is the car tires from the roads, 500,000 tons per year. Coming into the wastewater treatment plants, 97% of it, all of it goes into the sludge. And this is a rising concern. And also for me personally, if I would not care and dare and would step up for the utilization of sludge in the agriculture, maybe in limited cultivation sectors, but this is something really a long-term threat, where also the pharmaceuticals are part of the story. I mean, the resistance against utilization of the sludge as such. Concerning the question why the European Union is emphasizing and trying to move together towards, and Germany, we have seen Netherlands, Belgium, and some other countries to the incineration, which is a mono incineration. We have to add to it because we will see afterwards that even in Hungary we have something like 5-6% of the sludge going into incineration, but it's a co-incineration on a power plant. The mono incineration is providing the opportunity to save and recuperate the phosphorus, and there the phosphorus is as European Union and the world defined a scarce resource running out, and with the wastewater treatment plants, the wastewater treatment plants can provide 50% of the total phosphorus needs of the European agriculture. So it is an important position. So roughly, I have told what I feel interesting in addition to what Maya was telling, because otherwise I would say everything is roughly and more or less the same, with the difference that centralized or regional centers are treating do have anaerobic sludge treatment for energy utilization. We need, even our wastewater treatment plants are more or less obliged to go for energy or CO2 emission neutrality, which is in certain sense crazy, but I will not start now to make a presentation or open the file about whether or not water-related sustainability goals are or should be treated behind the climate change mitigation and adaptation, because water is connected to everything, but really I don't open it. So basically there are 4 or 5 slides altogether, and I am going swiftly through them with the taken out from the study, which is a very nice study presenting that from the total sludge production, substantial part goes to composting and other applications, where we also have to say that different service providers are trying to position this compost as a product for the public, or to use it in some way with more or less efficiency. And there you see these incineration numbers also changing from year to year, but roughly somewhere between 5 to 10%. Let's have the next slide, which is more or less showing the same. When percentages a bit more visible or visually better presented, and let's go on. There, Hungary, with some interesting gaps between the sludge production and the sludge disposal, plus minus. If Maya mentioned the option for exporting the sludge, so we had in the past some bad experiences with importing the sludge and disposing it not properly. So it was also in some way even there were even criminal actions on the way. And let's go further with the distribution between the disposal methods as per 2025 stated in the study that was and is and will be probably shared with all the participants. So do we have something else as a slide? No, thank you very much for your attention. And I hope we save some time. But I would like to encourage our colleagues from Hungary. I see that also the environmental service providers managing director is among the participants. If anyone would like to add something concerning Hungary, then please feel free, comment, ask, and let's see. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you, Kara, for your short overview of the situation of Hungary, and also to reflecting to Maya's excellent presentation before. Really, really good to see the cooperation in between the countries. And I also see that the chat is really now being alive, and there are a lot of questions are posed also to you and also to the other experts. I was just wondering that we already into the break situation. So if you can just stay a few more minutes, and then we need to break the session to. But I see that there are some questions posed. Like Tima, you had some question, Adam, and then also there's a National Development Center. And Danka from Slovakia was asking a question: do you anticipate significant changes in sludge management in Hungary due to stricter limits for nitrates and phosphorus removal? And is the new wastewater treatment driving force to change the sludge management? And also some other opinion posed. And also Maya posed that Bosnia is exposing waste to Hungary from Mostar, and it's used in agriculture in Hungary. So I see that now the chat is quite alive. We can spend a few more minutes, but then we will need to go for a break. So, Kara, do you see the chat also? Would you like to?
Yes, I see, and I'm there to answer. Yes, okay. So this break is mandatory, or I don't know. You are muted, Zsuzsa.
I think we will need to have at least 10 minutes break.
Okay.
So.
Okay,
Yes.
okay. So then I'm there. Okay.
I see that Tima, you wanted to raise an issue.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Just because I know that it is a practice everywhere to use the sludge on agricultural fields, but in 1 kilo of sludge, there are thousands of microplastics. And in this way, we pollute not just the soils, but the whole environment, the groundwaters, the surface waters and everything. So I think it is really a hot topic, and I think it would verse to how to say, to start studies and to start discussions on it, because if this practice will go on for a long time, I think we will extremely pollute our lands. So this is just a remark. Thanks.
Yeah. So that's also my recent concern in this regard. So otherwise, I would be very much also for the utilization of it to improve and increase the humus content of sandy lands, etc. But this microplastic is a nasty story. Yeah.
I'm sorry, Kara. I also see that Adam has a remark, and he raised his hands. Please, Adam.
Yes, thank you, and apologies. And Timia, we don't have a misunderstanding or a disagreement on that. I fully with you that I just wanted to indicate that what Karo mentioned, that largely it retained the treatment plant, then it goes into the sludge. And then the question what you raised too, that is very valid, that even a normal treatment plant, conventional, 95% or even more is retained, but then it goes to sludge. And then the question is what happens after that, and also the chemicals. And that is why we will have in the Joint Danube Survey 5 as we speak. The samples are being taken from 10 different treatment plants in the basin to have an understanding on the microplastic, the micropollutants, because I think this is also the societal perception that the farm or the people are somewhat concerned about this sludge quality, and which is a fair concern. But then these further investigations are needed, and also solutions what to do, because it's valuable resource, as Karo emphasized. So probably we also should do something about the removing the pollution of the sludge, or even the preventing pollution, but there's another forum, I guess, workshop.
Yeah, I'm sorry, just a quick response. I couldn't raise my hand. Just it has to be done quickly because year by year, month by month, we cause extreme harm on the environment. So just a quick response is needed. That's it. Thanks.
Now break, I guess. Huh?
Yeah.
Zsuzsa, you are muted. Zsuzsa, you are muted.
Yes, thank you. I also just noted that Victor posted that there is a recent newer situation that the legislation changed and it is now prohibited. It's of course a huge problem for Slovenia and the import sludge problem, and that is why PA4 study was also initiated in the first place. So we all hope that the situation will be better and the legislation will be strictened. And as Sylvie posed, that they are aware of the different circumstances of the countries face, and then they're also trying to find the best available techniques and to find a solution for the problem, and also especially the microplastic is a huge issue, as Stina, you raised. I see that Agnes has a raised hand. I think Agnes, you may be the last one before we pause for the break. So Agnes, yes, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I just would like to mention that I think that sewage sludge, first of all, renewable source of carbon and nutrient. And secondly, it can contain micropollutants, which have to manage proper way. And try to make such kind of sewage sludge, which can be useful for any kind of reuse, for example, in agriculture, and manage the sewage treatment such a way, or collection of sewage such a way that not polluted from agriculture, from industry, or not polluted from micro plastics, and try to catch that polluting material at the source. Because if we cannot do this, then we can use other materials in the agriculture to put back carbon and put back nutrient, for example, manures or fertilizers, which can be much more polluter than a good sewage sludge. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Agnes. I think you opened up an issue of a big debate and discussion, which we might continue in the second part of the session, because this first part was basically representing the European overview, also the Danube region overview, and some examples of a non-EU and an EU perspective. And I see that now the discussion is going on of what should be preferred and what should not be preferred. We will see exact examples of different countries from Croatia, Romania, Slovakia, Slovenia, Bosnia, and some part of Germany in the second part. So we will now break for we will set for a break now. And I see that there are some questions in the chat. We will need to break it, and then we will come back. Originally we proposed to have a 25-minute break. Now we will have like 10 minutes, if it would be agreed, 10 or 15. I see Adam's nodding. Okay, so 5 past 12 o'clock we will recall the session. So now there is a break for 15 minutes. So we will meet all of you at 5 past 12.
Thank you, Zsuzsa. See you in 15 minutes.
15 minutes.
All of you guys. Thank you.
Indeed.
Next hour, there won't be a chance to get away of us. So please, from us. So please, yeah, be prepared. In 1 minute we start.
Hi, Adam.
Hi, Karol. Good to see you after some time. Yeah.
Yeah. I would need to leave the office. I was trying to join per my mobile, but it looks like it will not work because of some reason. I would like to excuse myself, but I will need to leave.
Fully understood. Thank you for joining us, Carol.
There were some questions, but it's challenging.
I know. Thanks for joining us anyhow. It was a pleasure to meet you, meet you after some time. Yeah.
Okay. Thank
Take
you.
care. Take care. Hope to see you soon.
Yeah, myself. Hope
Ciao.
So. Ciao.
Zsuzsi, there are still a lot of Zsuzsanna Kocsis-Cooper on screen.
Yes, I was
But
trying.
you remind them to rename.
I was reminding everybody separately, all together. Please rename yourselves on top right. There are 3 dots. Please rename and put your real name, because it seems like there's many of me at the meeting. Thanks, Danka.
Hopefully, in the next few minutes, everyone will be renamed as appropriate. But I think we have to move on because we have still 1 hour ahead. And first of all, thank you very much for the very interesting first session. Very well moderated, Zsuzsa. And also a big appreciation to the speakers for the great contribution. And also I really like the discussion orally on the chat. So yeah, hope to continue in the same pace and mode. But we will now focus on utilities. And we also wanted to understand, first of all, on one hand, good practices coming from the different regions of the basin, but even challenges the utilities may raise regarding the sludge management. So I really look forward to learning from other regions. As you see, I'm swimming in a sludge reservoir or something, as a German sludge. But I'm really curious to know how the sludge looks like in other regions of the Danube River Basin. So without any further delay, Zsuzsa, we still can't see the overall presentation. Okay, it's there. Fantastic. So my pleasure to call the first presenter in the second block, who is Dr. Alma Djubur from Bosnia and Herzegovina. She will present the Sarajevo wastewater treatment plant. Alma is an assistant professor at the Department of Sanitary Environment and Engineering of University Sarajevo. I hope that I told everything correctly. And Alma, if you are here, and we can probably see you and hear you, the floor is yours. And you have 10 minutes, maybe +1, to present the Sarajevo case. The floor is yours.
Okay. Hello, everyone, and welcome to my presentation. Thank you very much for the kind introduction. Today, I will present the wastewater treatment plant in Sarajevo, Bosnia and Herzegovina, with a focus on sewage sludge management and energy efficiency. We can continue with the next slide, please. The presentation is divided into several parts. The first one provides an overview of wastewater treatment plants in Bosnia and Herzegovina, with a general overview of the plant Sarajevo. This is followed by a more detailed overview of this plant, including the key aspects of sludge management and its energy efficiency. Next steps and future improvements are discussed at the end. It is interesting and also helpful to give an overview of the state of treatment in Bosnia and Herzegovina. Here is a table with all the wastewater treatment plants. All these names of the plants are colored with that color that describes if the plant is in function or construction phase, or it is not reconstructed. As you can see, 18 plants are currently in operation with a capacity of 2,500 to 600,000 people equivalent. And on the right side is a map of Bosnia and Herzegovina, and there are marked the locations of all these plants in function. Special marked is the plant in Sarajevo, a plant of the greatest importance for Bosnia and Herzegovina in terms of capacity, which is the case study in this presentation. The next one. First, I would like to briefly describe the sewage system that is connected to the treatment plant. The central sewage system of Sarajevo consists of 7 main collectors that collect and transport the collected wastewater to the plant Butila and serves about 90% of the population of Canton Sarajevo. In 2013, more than 400,000 people lived in this area. The central sewage system covers the area of several municipalities. All these municipalities are not shown here in the picture, but they are partly connected to the sewage system. In addition to used water from households, institutions, and industrial wastewater, certain amounts of fecal water from other companies are also brought to the plant. The next one. Here is a general view of the treatment facilities of a wastewater treatment plant Sarajevo. The facilities for sludge treatment and utilization are also visible and special marked. Basic data about the plant are presented in the table. The plant was built in 1982 and reconstructed in 2016 and built in the first phase for a capacity of 600,000 people equivalent. This includes mechanical treatment, biological treatment with activated sludge for carbon removal and nitrification, as well as primary treatment and anaerobic sludge digestion. The plant is located at the confluence of the Miljacka River into the Bosna River, occupying approximately 42 hectares. The next one. I will just briefly go over this slide. Here is a simplified process diagram of the plant showing the separate units for this for sludge treatment. Next. The complete sludge treatment process consists of thickening, digestion, final dehydration, and final sludge disposal. Primary excess sludge and foam are fed into a mixed sludge tank before being sent to 5 filter presses. The mixture is treated with polymers. After dewatering, the sludge is pumped to 2 digesters. Alkaline mesophilic digestion produces biogas. Biogas is stored in a gas tank and sent to the cogeneration plant to generate heat and electricity. Digested sludge is stored, then dewatered with polymers using 3 centrifuges. The final sludge is temporarily stored before being transported to 2 lagoons. The next. This slide includes several photos from the field showing key components of the sludge treatment process. Mixed sludge tank, digesters and gas storage tank on the left side, temporary storage of dehydrated sludge in the center, and current final destination of the sludge, the two lagoons on the right side. These photos were taken during construction and sludge filling. The next. We've briefly covered sludge dewatering and treatment, but how much sludge is there and what is it like? First, how much sludge is produced? Sludge amounts vary and depend on things like how much and what kind of wastewater comes in. The big drop in sludge happened because the cogeneration unit broke down. Also, more sludge was kept and recycled inside the process. Next. What is the quality of the sludge? Between 2017 and 2023, different companies and labs tested sludge to find the best way to dispose of it. The table below shows average values of dehydrated sludge based on lab data from the past 7 years. Sludge tests meet legal standard, but the quality can change a lot and is not always consistent. Many factories release untreated wastewater directly into the sewage system. Some sludge parameters like dry solid, total solids, inert and volatile parts are tested daily in the lab. The plant also measures biogas quality with special equipment. Biogas results from the digester tower are shown here. According to literature data, the quality of biogas is of the usual composition. The next. What energy sources are used at the plant? The plant Sarajevo uses several energy sources. Biogas is produced from sludge and can be used and can be used to make electricity and heat. Since 2020, the cogeneration unit has not been working due to an engine failure, so biogas is now used only for heating in the boiler room. Biogas is currently not used for electricity production, and the repairs are underway. The plant also uses natural gas and electricity from the public network, which contributes significantly to operating and maintenance costs. Next one. And now about the production and consumption of biogas. The sludge retention time in the digesters is about 25 to 13 days. Biogas is produced in digesters in the composition, and the composition is typical. It is used to cover part of the plant's heat needs and to power the cogeneration unit. Any excess biogas is used for mixing the digester content. Biogas production and consumption were highest in 2020. This is because the biogas system operated continuously throughout the year without any interruptions. Almost 3,100 cubic meters of biogas was made in 2024, which is 116% of the 250,000 cubic meters goal. The next one. Here we see the natural gas consumption and related costs by month for the last 3 years. Biogas and natural gas are used in approximately equal amounts, about 50% each. The next. An overview of electricity consumption and electricity costs for the last 3 years are presented in the table and on a graph. Annual electricity consumption values differ on average by up to 8%. Next. What are the next steps and future improvements regarding sludge and its energy efficiency? Adding a charge for wastewater treatment. In Bosnia and Herzegovina, people pay for drinking water and drainage, but not for wastewater treatment on their bills. Then repair of the cogeneration unit, which will have a multiplier impact on energy efficiency. Right now, more sludge would mean more biogas, but the extra gas would just be burnt off in a flare and not used. The estimated cost to repair the engine and restart the system is around 360,000 euros. Then finding an adequate solution and financing method for the final disposal of sludge from the plant. And some other activities are planned that will affect the use of sludge and energy efficiency. There has been a clear progress in meeting EU environmental requirements for sludge treatment and reuse. In the Federation of Bosnia and Herzegovina, a new sludge regulation was adopted in April this year, and the Republic of Srpska adopted a similar one 2 years ago. For more detailed information about the treatment plant and sludge management, here are some of published papers in journals and conference proceedings. Just a moment, please. Like you can see, related to the Sarajevo wastewater treatment plant and its sludge treatment processes. Thank you for your attention. If you have any questions, you can contact me using the email on the first slide. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the great presentation, Alma. I had a pleasure that some weeks ago to visit Sarajevo treatment plant, and I know that just a couple of people operating the plant, and this is a huge effort they are putting into this. So congratulations, and I also like your method. I mean, to use the combined heat and electricity production, and hope that it will be repaired very soon.
Yeah.
We have a question, interestingly, and I also wanted to ask this question, but also of course, Danka was quick from Slovakia. Who pays for the wastewater treatment services today in Sarajevo? Because you mentioned that you want to introduce the water price. So at the moment, who is paying for the services?
I don't know. Actually, I don't know. I can. I don't know really who pays
As far as I
for it.
understand, there are some
Adam,
funds, state funding, which might be available.
Adam, can I answer a bit?
Yeah, Amila, yes, so sure.
Yeah.
Hi, Amila. That's
Hi,
good to
hi,
hear. Yeah.
Alma. Sorry for
Hi, Amila.
interruption. Yeah, the thing is that at this point nobody pays for the wastewater treatment plant, especially yeah, that's what Adam is asking for. Yeah, we pay only the citizens are paying the 0.7 km, so it's 0.35, I think, euros. But only for water consumption, not for the wastewater treatment plant. It's not in the bills at all. So the canton is adding the money for the additional money needed for the wastewater treatment plant. At this point, that's the case.
Okay, I remember that is
Yeah.
somewhat a very low price on the citizens, and otherwise the canton or the states or the
Canton is
canton
paying.
budget is covering. Another quick question from Martin: are there any existing plans for introducing fourth-stage treatment in the Sarajevo treatment plants? So what about the chemical removal?
It will be in the second phase, and that is planned for 2013 to extend this plant in Butila in 2013. This is the second phase for build this plant in Sarajevo.
Okay, thank you very much. That's a good perspective already. Please put your further questions in the chat, and I mean, Alma, maybe you can also even answer it in the chat in case, because we need to move on. Thank you very much, and yeah, go on with your plans. And now we go to we stay in the region, but we go to Croatia. And the next presenter is Ms. Wanda Plačko, presenting the Zagreb wastewater treatment plant. Wanda is a wastewater treatment plant process technologist working for the company RICO, if I'm right, that is running several treatment plants in Croatia. So Wanda, the floor is yours, and really look forward to learn from you what about the situation in Zagreb.
All right, thank you very much for the introduction, and thank you for inviting me in this workshop to present. Now, I would like to present the sludge treatment in our wastewater treatment plant in Jastrebarsko. So it's located in Jastrebarsko city in Croatia. It's in operation for 3 years, including the test run. The capacity of the plant is roughly 15,000 people equivalent. We are using SBR technology, and we have total wastewater flow about 4,500 cubic meters per day, which is basically the annual average. And the load of the wastewater is about 200 milligrams per liter per COD, which is also the average of the last 10 months that I averaged the load. So we are producing 30 to 60 cubic meters of sludge per day. So it very much depends on the time of the year and the load itself. The sludge is then fed into the settler, where it stays for 5 days or less. Then it's fed into the aerobic stabilization tank, where it stays for 20 days more or less, depending on the load initial from the reactors. And after that, it's pumped every day into the fields with dry matters not exceeding 2%. While we pumping it into the fields or reed bed systems, it's because we're using the screw pumps, and the screw pumps simply have to work for every day. Otherwise, they get dry and stuck and then break down. So I would like the next slide, if possible. Thank you very much. So these are 2 SBR reactors, each of them a volume of 2,500 cubic meters. So each of our reactors operate in cycles, a cycle of filling, reaction, settling, and decantation. They're each 6 cycles per day, or 8 cycles if there's a high hydraulic load. After each cycle, the excess sludge is being pumped out. Next slide, please. And here on the left, we have our settler, which is around 99 cubic meters per volume, where the sludge stays for, let's say, 5 days, or depending on the process itself. And on the right, we have our stabilization tank where the sludge is stabilized aerobically. And is advised for the stabilization tank to operate on the maximum volume of its 300 cubic meters because of the easier and more efficient oxygen transfer during the stabilization process. So next slide, please. So we're using the reed bed system for our sludge management and further stabilization. We're feeding the sludge from the stabilization tank with the underground piping into the reed beds, or as I like to call it, fields. The excess water is being drained with the gravel into the pipes and fed back into our wastewater plant inlet. The rest of the water is being evaporated or being used by our common reeds for their growth and reproduction. Next slide, please. This is the picture of our fields. As you can see, they're taking up a lot of space. So I would ask you for next slide. So we have 6 number of fields in total. Each of them is around 750 meters per square of area. The structure is basically made of the foil, that gray thing you see on the picture, if you look really closely. Gravel that serves as a kind of filter, geotextile that wraps around the underground piping, and of course piping which lead the excess water back into our inlet. The plants used for such stabilization process are common reeds. And the role of that is, of course, removal of excess water and harmful contaminants, and again, stabilization. So next slide. We developed in our 2 years of work here, we developed our own filling process of the fields themselves. So we're filling one field at a time currently, and then we are changing the field every 3 to 4 days. So after that time, after filling the first field for the first time, the dry matter should reach about 20% of the sludge. And it's more or less depending on the weather. And then we are back at filling the one field we filled first. So next slide. Current advantages that we noticed is their long operation lifespan. We can use them for 8 to 10 years. We do not have to worry about the sludge during our work. They have pretty much low operational costs, but that's only for the fields themselves or reed bed systems, which is only, the cost is only the electricity for the pump that runs. But I haven't taken into account the stabilization tank, which in theory should consume pretty much a lot of electricity and energy. But since our very low organic load in the inlet, our sludge is being already kind of stabilized in the reactors themselves. So our stabilization tank is something like an intermediate before the reed bed systems or fields. There are no chemical requirements and it's environmentally friendly solution. So you can go to the next slide. So the problems that we noticed is that the estimation of the sludge, so it's never the same each day. And it very much depends on the weather and the microclimate. So during the rainy seasons, the one reed bed system or field can take up a very low amount of sludge, and during the dry season, sometimes even more, but you cannot really quantify it when. Then troubleshooting the drainage functionality. So we cannot really, again, it's really dependent on the weather, and we cannot really know when some pipes are clogged or not. We can only see if the water is not being drained properly. And if the pipings underneath are damaged or in some way, it's not really possible for us to fix. And the next thing is, and also we don't have the flow meters to quantify it. And currently our biggest problem is weeds and animals that are growing here. The thing is, those are local plants that grow around the plant themselves. And since the sludge is very nutritious, they grow rapidly. And this is the pictures where we actually take out one basically weed, one group of the weed out of one field. And as you can see, it's a very currently very kind of big problem. So in the end, our operators need to go down there and pick them up. If you leave it for too long, they won't be able to remove those plants and weeds, and they can use their roots to damage the system beneath. And also animals, which we're not sure what they do, but I just put them just in case as a potential problem. And next slide. As for future challenges and plans, we kind of have to we kind of have to figure out where to dispose the stabilized sludge after 10 years, since it's a really long time. No one is really making those plans. But there has to be analysis for the categorization of stabilized sludge, which involves heavy metals and polychlorinated biphenyls and other synthetic organic chemicals. And then only then the sludge can be used as some purpose in agriculture. But if not, they have to be either incinerated or put into the landfill where they can be safe. We can't really know if we haven't done the analysis. Then the sludge manager doing the emptying of our red fields or reed bed systems, when they're going to be emptied, they won't be able to function. They will be non-functional. So we'll have to use centrifuges, which are costly, time-consuming, and also logistically challenging, because you'll have to figure out to bring the trucks there to remove the sludge each and every day, and it could cause a potential problem. If everything goes well, it can be used as fertilizer, but as I read in the regulations, it cannot be used for pastures where cattle is currently grazing, nor it cannot be used for the mixed with the soil that is being used as growing substrate for the vegetables for human consumption, only after 10 months after the sludge has been stabilized even more. So the fresh stabilized sludges cannot be used right again for the fertilization. Next slide, please. Currently, what we notice is that our reed bed system is one of the really elegant solution for wastewater sludge management. But it's not really a permanent solution. They still needs to be maintained and monitored each day to basically see if any kind of weeds are growing or there's some kind of problems with the piping. And there still needs to be planned for future steps where we're going to put that sludge. And since 10 years is a very long way, there might be a problem when some kind of management changes in the company. There probably is going to be problematic where to find the potential buyer for such a sludge. And that's it. Thank you for your attention. I hope you enjoyed my short presentations of this really young plant. And if you have any questions, you can ask right now.
Thank you very much, Wanda. I very much enjoyed the presentation indeed, and I appreciate the nature-based solution, what you are applying there. I think it's really a good example. And I just wanted to ask you how frequent this methodology is in Croatia. So do you have many of these plants which use the nature-based solutions?
Currently, in my knowledge, only the plants that are smaller plants like our plant are able to afford such solution, but also it takes very a lot of space. So I'm not really sure where it's maybe it's like few of them that are, or maybe two more. But more plants are the more plants rather know what they use for the sludge treatment is those that use digesters. So, but we're not producing enough sludge for digesters. So this is the only. So this is basically the only solution we have.
Okay, then two questions also to you. One about the higher precipitation events that could cause an overspillage. So is there any mechanism to handle this? And another question from Victor is the 8-10 months after stabilization or 10 years, which was it in the slide. So he's asking about the time span.
Okay, so I'll answer the first question, I mean, the second one. The precipitation, the system for precipitation, currently right now there is none. So we have to go there and you have to look at the sludge yourself, and you simply have to quantify if it's overfilling or not. Usually you can see the water film above the sludge itself, and you can see that it's not being drained properly when you see. You kind of can hear it when it's not being drained properly. It's kind of thing you need to learn with time. So with the high precipitation, there is no system for the to save the sludge from the overspillage, but the sludge itself cannot really overspill because the fields are really deep. So the only thing that can happen is that it will not. Let's say the water will not filter properly. It might block. So this is by the worst thing that can happen. And the third question about the 10 months. So yes, indeed, the reed bed system are lasting for 10 months. But but if you take account the regulation, like the law itself of the Croatia, this stabilized sludge that is already stable after 10 years cannot be used at the soil or fields, or maybe kind of agriculture fields, and for the crops that will be harvested for less than 10 months. So 10 months at least need to pass with those crops there, or even more, for them to be safe to use and harvested. So this is like the agriculture thing, not the sludge thing that we have. Is that okay?
For me, yes. Then maybe Victor can confirm. But I mean, you can guys clarify this with the chat because we need to move on. But thank you very much. Again, I really like the approach that you apply there. And good luck for the future plans, of course.
Thank you.
Thank you. And now the next presentation is about Germany. Yeah, before Romania, but because unfortunately the colleagues from Augsburg, Germany, are not with us because of a health issue, so they can be presented. But I just give you a 2-minute update about that. So basically, Augsburg from Germany it's a 4th largest wastewater treatment plant in Bavaria, and it has a wastewater volume over 100,000 cubic meters per day. And the treatment plants basically requires 40 million kilowatt-hour electricity annually to treat the wastewater and also the power for infrastructure and other building services. And what is beautiful in this treatment plant is that they're very efficient in terms of operation, and they have a good energy management system. And this makes Augsburg wastewater treatment plant one of the best plants in Europe in terms of overall effectiveness, but also the self-sufficiency. And how? Since 2017, 3 gas motors are operated to produce heat and electricity, generating around 130%, so 30% more than the own electricity demand of the plant. So they have a surplus. And in these 3 available digesters they approximately treat 7 million cubic meters of biogas. They are produced annually and used as a fuel for the 3 gas engines. So basically the biogas which is produced is then supplying the gas engines. And on top of these 3 gas engines, there is a turbine in the wastewater treatment plant outlet, and also a photovoltaic system distributed across the roofs of 16 operated buildings. So they have a combined system. And this all generates a total of around 18 million kilowatt hours annually, which is quite above the on-site consumption of 40 million kilowatt hours per year. And in addition to electricity, the combined heat and power plants also produce around 50 million kilowatt hour of heat, which is used to heat the digesters and meet other requirements of the processes and the operating buildings. So this is, I think, a very nice example. I'm really sorry that the colleague from Germany is not with us, but I wanted to just give you an update about this. And please just check the presentations, which will be the slides, which we distributed afterwards. I think it's really worth to study because it's one of the greatest energy neutral, even energy producing treatment plants in Europe. So the next presentation would be now not from me, but will come from Romania. Dr. Monica Isacu is the next presenter presenting the Timișoara wastewater treatment plant, if I'm right. And Monica is the head of the Controlling and Operational Efficiency Department of the Aqua Team company. And also she coordinates the main technical committee of wastewater management and sewage systems of the Romanian Water Association. Monica, the floor is yours. 10 minutes to Romania. Monica, are you here?
Oh, you couldn't hear me. Sorry.
Sorry. Yeah. Maybe you were.
Okay. So hello, everybody, and thanks for the nice presentation introduction, Adam. I'm very excited to be here today discussing this extremely interesting and important topic, the sewage sludge. Now, the main question is, what's the sewage sludge for us? Is it waste or is it a valuable resource? So is it a risk for the environment or even for human health? So going from this, I'd like to start with a short presentation of my company. Aqua Team is one of the largest water and wastewater operators in Romania, located in the western part of the country. It serves now almost 600,000 inhabitants in Timiș County, where over 96% of the users are connected to centralized drinking water supply, and most of them also benefit from sewage services. The wastewater plant Timișoara is a landmark of both historical and modern engineering in Romania. Originally designed and built under the engineer and later mayor of Timișoara, Stan Vitrigin, it began operating in 1912, October 1912, so it's quite old. On the other hand, it's today it's fully modern wastewater treatment plant, providing both secondary and tertiary treatment, ensuring compliant, high quality effluent sustainable for the sensitive water bodies around Timișoara. It handles up to 3,000 liters per second and produces roughly 30,000 cubic meters of sewage sludge per year. Next slide, please. The sewage sludge management, as we heard in the first part of the presentation, is in Romania. It's governed by a combination of national legislation and the European directives, which we've talked about before. The regulatory framework aims to ensure safe treatment for sure disposal and reuse of sewage sludge, particularly in agriculture, while protecting human health and the environment. I will not go further into this because we've mostly discussed it, and it's almost the same in all the countries, in all the European countries. So please, next slide. According to national data, the total sludge produced in municipal wastewater treatment plants sums up to over 230,000 tons of dry matter, out of which only approximately 30% is reused in agriculture. The main part is still being stored, while over 56%, while the other sludge is being composted, incinerated, and or has other uses. For the Timișoara wastewater treatment plant, the sludge generated in the area of Timiș County is exclusively excess biological sludge, aerobically stabilized through treatment process. Its processing mainly involves mechanical thickening to 5 to 6% dry matter, followed by dewatering to 25 to 35%. At the Timișoara wastewater treatment plant, as you can see, we currently produce roughly 26,000 tons of sludge per year. This quantity used to be much higher, as you can see in the graph, but recent modernizing of the thickening and dewatering equipment has significantly reduced the volume of sludge generated. Next slide, please. As I've mentioned before, the most common practices in Romania for sludge management are agricultural application and depositing or landfilling, which are strictly regulated here. However, in Timișoara, the quality of the sludge does not allow its use in agriculture due to the heavy metal contents. And also the soils around Timișoara have a high background, a high level of heavy metals. Meanwhile, in Romania, regulations also forbid the landfilling of sludge with a dry matter content of less than 35%. So it became necessary to reduce sludge moisture. Next slide, please. We started by building 10 solar greenhouses organized into batteries, 4 and 6 greenhouses covering a total of 10,000 square meters. This solution was chosen primarily for its low operating cost, using solar energy, which in Timișoara is 6 to 8 months per year, and thermal energy recovered from the wastewater treatment plant's effluent for underfloor heating for the cold season. So the heating capacity of the heat pumps is 4 megawatts, which is good for us. So next slide, please. In 2021, the mechanical thickening was also, and the watering equipment was upgraded. The old thickening tables were replaced with centrifugal thickeners, and the belt filter presses were replaced with centrifugal presses. All these improvements yielded significant benefits, as shown in the chart before. Well, the sludge quantity decreased a lot, but still didn't fully solve the problem. Mainly since Aquatim is not only responsible for Timișoara, but for the whole area. So as a result, the thermal recovery plant for sludge is now under construction. The facility will use gasification to transform the organic matter into in the sludge into synthetic gas. The gas will be then burned to generate thermal energy used for drying the sludge, producing energy and heating the premises. Next slide, please. The technological flow of the sludge drying and energy recovery plant can be divided into 3 main zones: reception, drying, and pelletizing, heat treatment and energy recovery, and treatment of the air and the water from the process. As you can see, the entire process is controlled via an automation system, so operator intervention will only be required for process priming and maintenance operations, which is quite good for us. Next slide, please. The main benefits of this technology are a most significant reduction of sewage sludge volume, thermal degradation of toxic components, high energy efficiency, and a relatively low investment cost compared to other technologies. However, this process requires sludge with a higher dry matter, making drying and pelletization necessary as a pre-treatment step. Next slide, please. Zone 2 hosts both the thermal waste oxidation system and the electricity generation facilities. The thermal waste oxidation process involves two stages. In the primary chamber, the organic matter in the sludge is transformed into fuel gas. In the secondary chamber, the gas is combusted and the resulting thermal energy is recovered from the flue gases and directed to the organic Rankine cycle turbine to produce 300 kilowatt per hour of electricity, kilowatt hour electricity. Additionally, the recovered heat will be used to transport the sludge, to support the sludge drying process and to heat the technological facilities, creating like this a nearly energy self-sufficient process. In zone 3, next slide. Zone 3 is designated for both air and water treatment. So odors, the smell from the reception area are removed using an AirNet biofilter, which contains bacterial biomass supported on mineral substrate. Moist air from the dryer, once condensed, is further purified in 2 gas scrubbing towers, one alkaline, one acidic, to reduce the harmful emissions. As for the water treatment, the drying process produces approximately 2,700 liters of condensate per hour. And this water undergoes a multi-step treatment process that includes a clariflocculation stage for removing suspended solids, a filtration and ultrafiltration unit for fine particle removal, a membrane cleaning system to maintain performance and longevity of filtration membranes. In conclusion, through the investments and innovations, Aquatim, I think, is on the right track, turning waste into a resource, reducing environmental impact, and moving closer to energy self-sufficiency. Also for energy self-sufficiency, we now have a quite a big, I don't know exactly how big a field of solar panels. And truly, so we are going to truly circular economy, hopefully. So thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Monica. I'm happy to see that you are on a good track and to move towards circular rather than linear. That's good already. And I think it's a good example also coming from Romania. I don't see any question, but I would have one. Do you have any capacity building in terms of sludge management? So also make the operators and the companies aware of the necessity and the added value and the benefits they can have from sludge utilization. So how is that in Romania then handled?
We have mainly 2 possibilities that we are currently using quite a lot. The one is through the Romanian Water Association, where we have these technical committees, which are meeting a few times a year, I would say about 6 times a year, and where new subjects, whether it's sludge or something else on wastewater treatment plants, is being discussed. And out of the necessity that we find there, then through Aquademica, which is facility that it's only giving lectures and organizing courses for people in Romania. They then are organizing the courses that are required or what we see from the field that is needed. So this is working quite well. We are also often inviting people from all over Europe, experts who can teach us a bit more and doing a know-how transfer from more advanced countries and more advanced facilities than ours.
Super. I'm happy to hear that there is already exchange with also other countries. That's really important in this respect. Thank you very much, Monica. If anyone has further questions to Monica, please put it to the chat and maybe you can even answer it in the chat. So I want to encourage everyone to be active on the chat. But with the presentations, we move on to Slovakia. And the next presenter is Dr. Lucia Spernakova. She will present the Liptovsk Mikulas wastewater treatment plant, and she's a technologist of the treatment plant. Lucia, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much for introduction. However, I will present the results from my PhD study because we didn't think that we have something special on our wastewater treatment plant. So if I can ask you for the next slide, the presentation will be talking about pharmaceuticals in the sewage sludge. For the starter, the pharmaceutical consumption in Slovakia in the last decade didn't really change so much. And we can see then in the last year, the consumption was around 165 million of packages of pharmaceuticals. Most of those pharmaceuticals were for cardiovascular system, and the second most used pharmaceuticals are the ones which can affect our nervous system. Next slide, please. I would like to start with the pharmaceuticals on wastewater treatment plants. The research is ongoing from 2013. During the time, team were able to sample more than 1,500 samples from 22 wastewater treatment plants in Slovakia. Those wastewater treatment plants treat water for roughly from 1,600,000 people. We were sampling inflow, primary sedimentation, sludge water, effluent, and also sewage sludge. On the graph, you can see that the removal efficiency of the pharmaceuticals on the wastewater treatment plant without the quarterly treatment is quite wide. There are pharmaceuticals which can be removed almost by 100%. However, there is also a big amount of pharmaceuticals which are not even touched during the treatment process. Next slide, please. As I was talking, the removal efficiency is wide, but we were also looking what part of removal is done by biodegradation and what is done by desorption. As you can see, most of the pharmaceuticals on wastewater treatment plant is removed by biodegradation. However, there are some pharmaceuticals, and the one which will be interesting for the next few slides is the fexofenadine and verapamil, which are removed highly by desorption. Also, the pharmaceuticals with effect on central nervous system have a quite high sorption rate. Next slide, please. Because we could see that the pharmaceuticals are sorbed on the sewage sludge, we decided to do the research just on the sewage sludge and the amount of pharmaceuticals present in the sludge. The first research was done on samples from 5 wastewater treatment plants, which 3 of them are in the district of the capital city of Bratislava and 2 were outside of the capital city. Also, the type of stabilization used on the wastewater treatment plant were anaerobic and aerobic in this research. We could find more than 30 pharmaceuticals in each sample. However, on the right side of the table, you can see that the sum of the pharmaceuticals is quite varying, and the highest amount is actually in the region of capital city, and less of the pharmaceuticals is present in the wastewater in the sludge from the wastewater treatment plants outside of the capital city. Next slide, please. So during the research, we analyzed 93 pharmaceuticals, which almost half of the pharmaceuticals was detected under LOQ. However, 25 pharmaceuticals was present in every sludge sample what we researched. And as you can see on the graph, fexofenadine and verapamil together with telmisartan are the compounds which can be found in every single sample what we did, and it's in the highest amount. The concentration is in average around and above 1,000 nanograms per gram of dry matter of the sludge. Next slide, please. We also found that the type of stabilization can influence the amount of the pharmaceuticals which are presented in the sludge. We could see that in the sludge which undergo aerobic stabilization, we had much higher amount of some pharmaceuticals. Unfortunately, we couldn't tell that it's just some specific group. It's just that some are more present in aerobic sludge. Some pharmaceutical is more present in anaerobic sludge. Next slide, please. Because some sludge could be used in the agriculture, that's why we decided to try the desorption of the pharmaceuticals from the sludge. And also we found out that anaerobic and aerobic sludge can remove or desorb the amount of pharmaceuticals quite differently. And in general, we could see that the desorption rate was much higher for anaerobic stabilization than for the aerobic stabilization. Also, you can see more or less that for a pH 12, the desorption rate was much higher than the pH in the lower values. Next slide, please. So here is just the summarization of the desorption of the pharmaceuticals, that you can really see that the desorption for the anaerobic sludge was higher than for the aerobic sludge. However, if we would probably change condition for the test, the average desorption rate could be higher for every pH or for every sludge. But that wasn't really the point of our research. It was more that we realized that if we treat the sludge or we do the desorption under controlled conditions, that we could get a sludge in higher quality. However, we also realized that we would have the sludge with much lower dry matter. So that's why the team following further decided to do thermal decomposition of the sludge. Please, next slide. There, the team did test sludge from 8 wastewater treatment plants. All those wastewater treatment plants have anaerobic stabilization of the sewage sludge, and they tested for different temperatures, starting on 80 degrees, and the maximum was 550 degrees. As you can see in the table, already increasing temperature to 80 degrees increased or decreased actually the amount of pharmaceuticals present in the sludge. And if I can ask you for the next slide. The most effective removal efficiency was for the pharmaceuticals with effect on central nervous system and cardiovascular system, and the removal efficiency was from 70 to 95%. For others pharmaceuticals, it was between 30 and 70%. Also, if they increase the temperature higher to 250 degrees, almost all pharmaceuticals were under LOQ, and the temperature above 550 degrees would mean that all pharmaceuticals was under LOQ. If we would have some sludge dryers, we would probably could produce much better sludge. However, as far as I know, in Slovakia, we still don't have even one sludge dryer. So I think that this would be it from my side.
Thank you very much, Lucia. And really, first of all, I'm sorry for my mistake regarding the topic of your presentation, but I'm happy that you corrected, because it was super interesting to see the chemicals and in particular the pharmaceuticals. And I'm really look forward to see also the JDS5 results and how much they are comparable to your results. It would be interesting to see, because you had this large variety of removal rates for the pharmaceuticals is also interesting. And this last conclusion on the thermal, or the necessity of, or the potential benefits of the thermal treatment that would really lower the concentration, that could be very interesting conclusion. So I really thank you very much for that. Questions to you in the chat? Yes, from Alma. Is there a published journal article with more detailed values and specific findings from the research you conducted for your doctoral dissertation? So please share this information with the people.
Yes, so there is quite some amount of articles. Also, I think my doctoral thesis should be somewhere still available, and I will ask actually the Professor Bodik, which was the head, which he is still head of the research in the topic of micropollutants in wastewater treatment plants, to send everything to you.
Thank you very much. And just you mentioned that there is no sludge dryer that much in Slovakia, if I understood well. Why is that? Just for curiosity?
I think it's the money.
Okay.
Because I heard that there is a lot of ideas to have some sludge dryer, but I don't know about any yet.
Okay. Point taken. Thank you very much. And now I think it's time to move to the last presentation, which is again the Sava region, Slovenia. And we have Ms. Pela Zeleznikar, sorry for the if I didn't pronounce it well, presenting the other different word, the Adjovicna treatment plant. Pela is a researcher at the agronomy department of the Biotechnical Faculty, University of Ljubljana, and leads the wastewater treatment plant Adjovicnica experimental site. Pela, the floor is yours, and again, sorry for my limited knowledge on your language.
Yes, thank you. It was not so bad, so congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, my presentation, I think it's going to be a bit different of what we heard so far. I'm mostly going to talk about our experimental site and what are we doing. I'm just going to briefly mention the sludge, because as I learned from today, it's also in Slovenia, there is a tendency to not to use it, just to burn it outside of the country. So I will explain a bit more later. So please, next one. Okay, so the wastewater treatment plant in Ajdovščina, why we choose this one? This is quite a small treatment plant, but it was already established in the 1981. It has a mechanical and biological treatment with anaerobic stabilization, but because all of the people that inhabited the area in the early 90s and 2000, the treatment plant had to be restored, and this happened in 2005. And now it operates as a conventional flow-through plant with pre-densification and anaerobic stabilization of the sludge. We choose Ajdovščina because, next one please, it is a quite typical treatment plant in Slovenia that has wastewater treatment plant and sludge from the city, but also from some industrial areas. But why is it so special? Because together with the Faculty of Health Sciences, also from the University of Ljubljana, we there established a demonstration center that it's purely research intended. We run different projects at this field, research projects, also some implemental projects with practical solutions. You can see what is circled in red. This is our small demonstration center. It's supposed to look like the picture on the right, on the left side, but we are not there yet, but working on it to be as also to use it as a, let's say, citizen science approach, or maybe also a tourist attraction when people could go and visit the demonstration center and learn about new natural-based solutions, how to manage wastewater and sludge, and to learn about how to better resilience the climate and the climate changes that are happening. Next one, please. So what do we have at our demo center? We have 3 or 4 different kind of treatments, of research treatments. So we have a evaporative willow system that treats the wastewater from the treatment plants. There is zero discharge, but the woody biomass is cut, I think 3 to 4 times per season, and then we use this biomass production for cropping, for mulching, and for different purposes, experimental purposes so far. Then we have yes, thank you. We have a treatment, a wetland treatment, a plant-based treatment that purifies water directly from the treatment plant. And also we have a small algae pond that also is filled with wastewater, and then the algae work as a filter for this water. And what is so special about all of these things? Because we somehow managed to connect all of these 3 treatment facilities, and we test the water that has been purified through all of these systems on a test field with lysimeters, where we use this treated water to irrigate different crops. And of course, with support of the lab research, we also deal with elimination of contaminants of emerging concern, and of course on evaluating what kind of contaminants are we adding to the soils, to the crops, to the yield, and what is their effect. Next one. So I'm mostly going to talk about the lysimeter test field, because this is something that is mostly my area of expertise. So we installed 30 lysimeters that were buried in the soil with a size of, let's say, 40 centimeters wide and 1 meter of depth. Each of the lysimeter is equipped with different soil sensors that tell us what is the water content in the lysimeter and what is the electrical conductivity of the soil. We know that wastewater has with irrigation of with wastewater there is a problem of salinity and of adding too much salt to the soil and destructing the plants and also the soil. So this is why we installed the equipment to monitor. Next one. And then we buried these lysimeters, and they act like just a normal open field, yeah, where we grow crops. There now I think it's the 5th season overall. We started with pumpkins. We planted 1 pumpkin plant in each lysimeter, and then constructed different groups, and we irrigated the plants with potable water as control, with wastewater from directly from the treatment plant, and also with sources of wastewater that were additionally treated in the algae pond or in the plant-based treatment. Next one. After the next slide, please. After the pumpkins, one back. We after the pumpkins, we decided to go with tomatoes, because we all know that tomatoes is quite an attractive crop, not only for consumers but also for farmers, because it could be it could bring more money to the farm. We can so the crop as tomato, it can be eaten raw, it can be produced as an industrial crop, and that's why we decided to go with tomato. I would say it was a good idea at first, but then Everybody that has maybe a tomato plant on their balcony also knows that tomatoes are quite difficult to grow, yeah, especially if we treat them with something they are not used to and they don't like it. So it was quite a challenge, but and we somehow failed in the first year and then did great in the second year and then failed again in the third year. But overall, I think we gained a lot of experience and a lot of good nerves. And we learned that everything can go wrong, but also everything can go okay. And similar to the pumpkins, we decided to irrigate the tomatoes with different effluents of the wastewater that we received from the treatment plants. And we used, of course, drip irrigation, and then we analyzed the soil, the tomato plant itself, so the roots, the stem, and also the leaves, to see if any of the contaminants that were firstly in the wastewater also translocated to the plants. And of course, also the tomato fruit was analyzed for its quality attributes. As agronomists, we all have to do also the quality attributes, but also for the contaminants of emerging concern, heavy metals, and so on. What we found overall, not only in the pumpkins, but also in the tomatoes, is that there was no big harm done regarding the plant or the crop itself, and also on the yield. Also, the soil acted quite as a good purifier of the wastewater we used, yeah. And also, it was researched that the treatments that we used, so the algae pond and the plant-based treatment, also used as as good additional treatment of the wastewater. So they purified the water extra, and so the water was more clean. Also, compared to the treated wastewater we use as it came out from the outflow of the treatment plant. So overall, of course, some of the contaminants of emerging concern translocated to the plants as expected. And they translocated not only to the plant stem and leaves, but also to the fruit. So this is something we have to work on further, not only to identify the contaminants, but also how to eliminate them at the treatment plant itself. You know, with the new directive, there is a new legislation that the CCs have to be removed. So there is still quite a lot to do in order to produce safe food using treated wastewater. Next one. But overall, I think, of course, treated wastewater is already used in some part of the world, also in Europe, because it represents a water source that is always available, especially in the summer months where other water sources are not. So I think it's a good new water source that has to be handled with care. We have to be aware that we can affect not only soil, but also public health, of course, when we use treated wastewater, but with the right regulations, with the right approach to using this treated wastewater. I think it could be a good source to use in the future. Of course, if we look at the perspectives of the climate change, what is bringing us, I think we have to work on treated wastewater as a source for irrigating crops in order to provide safe food. So, as I said, we have to be careful about it, but yeah, of course, it brings environmental and health challenges, but also economic benefits. So overall, I think we are in a good path, but still a lot of work has to be done. And if I talk about the sludge, I will only take 1 minute for the sludge, because in Slovenia, sludge is a taboo topic. For now, it's not allowed to use it. It's not allowed to dispose it. It's not allowed to do anything with it. Most of the treatment plants just store them at their facility, and then they export them to probably, I think, mostly Austria to be burned. or maybe but now I think it's about 3 or 4 months, if I'm correct. There is a new legislation coming up that the sludge could also be composted at the local compost sites, and then this sludge in a really restricted amount can be used on gardens, but personally owned gardens. So citizens could go to the compost site. I think there is a amount of kilograms of this compost that can be bought or can be taken from a citizen, and then they can apply it to their own gardens. This is what has been done so far. And this is also everything I had to present to you. If you have any questions, feel free to ask.
Thank you very much, Pella. Great presentation. Also, thank you very much for bringing up a new aspect, the wastewater reuse, basically, which is also a new initiative coming from the European Commission. There's a regulation, I think we all know about that. And you mentioned the climate change. I think we all know that the drought is it's an emerging problem in the region. I think it could be locally an alternative that you mentioned. So I expect a lot of pumpkin and tomato fields related to the treatment plants in Slovenia. I would have one question to you.
Yep.
Because you have this experience or experimental field and one treatment plan. How much link or exchange you have the practice? So your results on the tomato and the reuse, even though there are concerns, but how much then you can translate this or transport this knowledge to the practice? So is there anyone who is willing to apply?
Yeah, of course. There are farmers not only in the small region of the treatment plant, but there are quite a few farmers in the Slovenia region that are willing to use treated wastewater, of course, if they will be educated enough. Because they are aware that the vegetables that are sold in Slovenian supermarket are mostly irrigated with wastewater from Israel, from Spain, from other European Union countries, and why they cannot use it. They're quite aware of this. So one of the farmers said to me, "It's horrible. I have to watch my plants die because I cannot use the water, that is available. But on the other hand, I can send all of my buyers or my customers to the supermarket and tell them buy this one because it's probably the same." Yeah. So there is a people perspective on it. Of course, I think the main problem would be the consumers, how to present to them that this is not a bad thing, that this is not polluted or somehow that it's managed. And the perception of the public, I think it's the biggest area of concern and also the biggest area to work on. I think the farmers are quite willing to do anything in order to do their farming, yeah, and to continue farming based on the projections. But yeah, the consumers and the public, it's the one that we have to work on.
Okay, interesting aspects. Thank you very much. And just one last question. Do you also plan to extend your experimental activities to the sludge?
We do. We had some small pot experiments when we use sludge as a fertilizer.
Okay.
To grow tomatoes again. But the results are not out yet, so I was not able to speak. But we are planning here also for next season to use the sludge, because now with this new regulation, we want to see what are we bringing to our soil.
Okay, thank you very much. Very interesting.
Thank you.
Okay, I think we are done with this block. It was a nice journey in the region. Thank you very much for all presenters, the contribution, and Zsuzsa, the floor is yours now. I'm tired.
Thank you, Adam, and thank you all excellent speakers from all these 7 countries to showcase how you deal with this difficult issue of the sludge management. And I see that our time is a little bit after our dedicated time. So just a few minutes, I would like to wrap up what we learned today and how we saw these experiences. We learned, and I really appreciate that we had all the speakers from the EC. We learned that sludge management is very dependent on the local conditions, and then also learned, and it was supported by the view that the public consultation will be coming in early July, and they are expecting our input on sludge in the Danube region in relation to the upcoming Circular Economy Act. That will be an omnibus regulation. We also learned from Sylvie today that the sludge directive will be not recasted. So it is being addressed by other legislation and will update the list of contaminants. There will be an amendment, but no new directive is planned. It's good that it was ensured. And then we also learned that the member state data on sludge in agriculture is not very precise and would like to have further data in relation to sludge. And this was also supported by the presentation of Attila Fürsten from Tranecon about the Danube region survey, showing that one of the most difficulties is in relation to the data management. And there is no real data or missing data on the use of processed sludge products. So this is an issue we still tackle. And we also learned that but we also knew, but it was also supported by the presentations, that countries differ greatly in the applied technologies. And there was a large debate on the use of sludge in agriculture and the requirements, needs. And especially in the previous Hungarian presentation, and after in the Slovenian presentation, we learned that the very different options. And also, the issue of microplastics came reoccurring, and so we know that this is an upcoming, emerging, and even more evolving problem to tackle with. And I think best presenters were also showing the definition of the waste or the sludge in relation to the waste definition is still challenging. And we learned that the financial investments are still causing problems in most of the countries. We heard several presentations, and I really appreciate all the country presenters to show their different way of settling with the issue. From Bosnia, we learned from the activated sludge process with suspended growth for carbon removal. From Croatia, we learned that the system using nature-based solutions with weeds and animals. It was really very nicely described. From Germany, we could not really listen to the presenter, Mrs. Wong, but the presentation will be available. I will also share it with you. But we learned that thermally recycled power in power plants, and then there's a new way of sludge management is happening in Germany. From Romania, we learned that there are strict conditions for agricultural use. And from Slovakia, the focus was mostly on the pharmaceutical specifications. And from Slovenia, we learned about this very interesting demo center with research, with a laboratory. And we also understood that in some countries, the sludge issue is still a taboo issue and not allowed to be used. And we understood that in the water reuse aspect is upcoming. So what I wanted to highlight to all of us is the presentations of all these presentations in a PDF format will be available online in our PA4 website. I will send a mail to all participants, thanking your participation and also the excellent speakers for sharing your knowledge. I noted that also the chat, there were some information requested. So once we receive this information, we will share it also with the participants. I noted that the Slovakian study was also asked, the further research to be shared. And I noted that the Croatia transport and export topic was also tackled to be further discussed, I think from Wanda. And yeah, it was recommended by Sylvie, and we also encourage you to also use the possibility in the stakeholder discussion in the upcoming EU discussion. It will be available in the EU website, but I will also share it with the participants once it's out. And well, we all know that the public opinion matters, so I think we need to tackle this sludge issue further on. And I think the discussion, what we just started today, we continue following up from our previous workshop. It will be going on in upcoming years. And the Danube strategy will certainly be there to assist this topic. And Adam, thanking you also with this co-organization of the workshop and all the speakers, and Christina for assisting us in the presentation and sharing the screen, and also with the Zoom. We really appreciate your assistance. Please also be aware that the video recording was on going in this whole event. We try to place it to our website. We will also alert the participants once it's available. And with this, I also give the floor back to Adam in case you would like to also wrap up. And thank you very much from my side.
No, Adam would not like to wrap up. I just, everything has been said very nicely. I just want to thank all the presenters. It was really interesting, and we had these two different setup. One is on the strategic and regional and national scale, but I also like very much the concrete utility cases, and I think that was good to see that in terms of circularity, we are in a good track in terms of energy, water reuse, how to treat pharmaceutica. I think a lot of aspects have been mentioned which are very important, and therefore I really appreciate your valuable contribution. Also, we appreciate the large number of participants and the patience, because we are half an hour behind the agenda, so the schedule. Sorry for that. And also we are really thankful for the great discussion on the chat, and also your activity and the questions you had. I think it was a very nice workshop, and I just want to echo what you just said, that although it was a second workshop, I could imagine a third workshop, maybe on several aspects. But we will definitely want to keep this activity going with the EUSDR, also with the World Bank, to address several aspects of wastewater management. I think we will have in the future other activities and other workshops addressing others or other impacts, or even a sludge from another angle. But I think these activities seem to be very useful for the country, so we really want to support you further with information exchange. This is all from my side. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Adam. And with this, we are closing this workshop, and really appreciate your presence here. And let's hope that we will meet in the next occasion. Thank you, and have a great weekend. Bye-bye.